If you please rise, we're going to start with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
For our moment of silence, if you'll remember the visual that we're having right now over for Ian Deutsch, our deputy that was killed 1 year ago tonight. It's going to be at the government complex, starts at 7 o'clock. And so remember him in our moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, I would like the clerk to read a statement that's been prepared.
The chairman and Pahrump Town Board members intend that their proceedings should demonstrate the highest levels of decorum, civic responsibility, efficiency, and mutual respect between citizens and their government. The board respects the right of citizens to present differing opinions and views, even criticism. But our representative democracy cannot function effectively in an environment of personal attacks, slander, threats of violence, and willful disruption. To that end, the Nevada Open Meeting Law provides the authority for the chair of a public body to maintain the decorum and to declare a recess, if needed, to remove any person who is disrupting the meeting, and notice is hereby provided of the intent of this body to preserve the decorum and remove anyone who disrupts the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Darby, if I have a
Yes,
question
sir.
to ask the town board, if I may. I've been asked to put that on the agenda from now on. It would be the front page of the agenda. And does anybody have any issues with that? I'm asking the whole board before. Talk to Mr. Darby.
The message was, you gave out a message. Let's just see if it works before we move forward with that. I remember what it's like to be on that side, and I want to have good rapport with the public, and I don't want to start off our meetings with a threatening statement, which was some people will perceive it as. So right now we've asked the public to not attack people. Let's just see if they follow through before we move further. I would like it that way.
I have a question. What happened to constitutional republic? I heard elect Democratic governor where it was.
So, Mr. Darby, I have one objection. Is there any other objections to having that put on the first page of the agenda? And it would be on the page. It has all the town board members' names on it.
And we're talking about it just being printed, not necessarily read each time.
That would be up to Mr. Darby, sir, if it's going to be read.
Is there any objection to putting it on the front page? Dr. Waters?
No objection to putting on the front page.
Ms. Parker?
I agree with Harley.
If I
We
may,
already have a warning in there that was written by the attorneys.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I received an email where someone said, oh, this has all got to stop and you guys got to do something. And my answer to that person was that I see a decline in that, and I consider it this board's partial mission to make the public feel that we're operating in their best interest. And I think that what we've been doing since this board has taken office, or, started out this year, I think we've been making progress in that. And I appreciate the statement, but I think that's enough for right now. We are making progress, and I think that might be a little bit going backwards now. If we're making progress, what, it's not fast enough or not good enough? I don't know. I think it's, like I don't know. A stranger comes here and reads that, they're going to be thinking, what's going on here? It's like, I think that's just a little too much, that's all.
Well, I personally have received several emails that people were complaining about the name calling, that when somebody comes up to speak, that they're actually calling the attorney, Mr. Kohlberger, members of the board, and staff derogatory names.
and they feel that that's
That
no
shouldn't
way to
happen.
conduct a public meeting.
No, I agree it's not appropriate, but I think by the message that was read, that, you know, we're standing up a little bit and saying we'd like a little more decline in it. Let's give the public a chance, that's all I'm saying. You know, let's give it a month. If, you know, if we don't see a decline, you know, up to the board's satisfaction, then fine, but, you know, we're trying to mend fences of things that happened in the past, and we can't expect instant results. You know, it's like I mentioned to somebody, it's like going to counseling. Don't go to counseling and expect that all your problems are going to be solved the first time, right? Let's give it a chance.
Mr. Chairman,
Just my thoughts.
Mr. Waters?
I'll say again, I have no problem with it being printed on the page. I would be opposed to it being read each time, and I think it was appropriate to be read tonight. But I don't think it needs to be read again, but to be printed on that page, I see no problem with that at all.
And, Mr. Chairman, also, this is a statement that is put on the Washoe County Commission's agenda on a regular meeting basis for every public meeting. So it's something that's not unusual. Thank you.
I'm going to have to go ahead and say print it. It doesn't necessarily have to be read, but I believe it should be part of the agenda.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Moving on to item number 2, discussion possible decision regarding the moving or deletion of an agenda items.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Parker?
I would like to separate under the consent agenda, I would like to separate item number D to be handled separately. And we have a presentation, number 7, and I would like it to follow announcements at 3.5. We're doing it your way, Mike.
Would you just like to, on item D, just after the consent agenda items?
Yes, yes, yes.
So that
Handle
would
it
be,
separately at that time.
Right before 15? But separately by itself? Okay. Anything else from the board?
Mrs. Endersby, did you want to remove, the kids?
I don't see them here.
Yeah, I don't believe they were able to be here. Do we have our 2 youth, Darby and Lennon? They're not here. So I don't think it's necessary to pull, so thank you.
Just checking.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of moving the presentation to after the announcements and separating D from the consent agenda item? All in favor?
Aye.
There's no opposed, so we'll go ahead with the announcements.
Pahrump Tourism and Convention Council will meet on May 5th at 8 a.m. in the town annex. Pahrump Nuclear Waste and Environment Advisory Board will meet on May 6th at 2 p.m. in the town annex. Public Lands Advisory Board will meet on May 11th at 7 p.m. in the town annex. Pahrump Arena Advisory Board will meet on May 12th at 7 p.m. in the annex. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board will meet on May 25th at 6:30 p.m. in the annex. Pahrump Veterans Memorial Advisory Board will meet on May 19th at 6 p.m. in the conference room of the town office. The Pahrump Incorporation Advisory Board will meet on May 26th at 6 p.m. in the annex. The May West Fest will be held May 7th and 8th at the Pahrump Nugget. There'll be cars, crafts, and kids. Nye County Communities Coalition will be holding a charity poker tournament to benefit the new Pahrump Valley Youth Activities on May 22nd at noon at the Pahrump Nugget. A business entitlement workshop will be held May 18th at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. in the town annex. The Town of Pahrump final budget hearing will take place on May 19th at 7 p.m. in the annex. And the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission's Community Improvement Plan Advisory Committee will meet on May 24th at 10 a.m. in the annex. and Social Security Administration will be in the town annex on May 31st from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'd like to also add that the Pahrump Valley Master Plan Revision Committee meeting is tomorrow, Wednesday at 2 p.m. here in the chamber office.
Anything further from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Waters.
First, I'd like to emphasize that the Pahrump Veterans Memorial Advisory Board meeting on May 19th at 6 p.m. in the conference room of the town office is a change of location. Just so you know that it's, instead of being in the annex, it's going to be in the town office that night. Also, Community Roots Garden, the plot selection is going to be Thursday at 5 p.m. for anyone who would like to participate with the community garden. And on Saturday, the official groundbreaking ceremony at 9 o'clock. The plot selection is going to be at 5 p.m. on Thursday the 28th. The groundbreaking ceremony will be on Saturday the 30th at 9 a.m. And the location of the community garden is at the intersection of Basin and Black, just past the intersection going west on Basin, and Garden is on the left, and you can't miss it. If you're interested, it's something I think will help our entire community.
Anything further from the board?
I do have a few additional ones. There's a health fair, excuse me, health fair Friday, this coming Friday, April 29th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Desert View Hospital. They're located 360 South Lola Lane. They'll be providing no-cost immunizations for children 0 to 6 years of age and DTaP shots for outgoing 6th graders and for the 7th grade at no cost. There'll be a dental fluoride varnish and sealants provided, and vision and dental and hearing screening with a local pediatrician. And for adults, there'll also be flu shots at no cost. And they're serving hot dogs, chips, and beverages. It's their 5th year anniversary, so they'll be celebrating from 12 to 2 with beverages. So come join them this coming Friday. Also, the Head Start Collaboration and Early Childhood System Office is holding a summit on early childhood mental and social emotional health Thursday, May 12th from, excuse me, from 9 to 3 p.m. at the Tuscany Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. So if you're involved in and concerned about that, it's people that should attend are health professionals who work with young children ages 0 to 5 years of age. There is also a 12th annual Stand for Children Day Teacher of the Year celebration on Saturday, May 21st at 11:30 a.m. at Rosemary Clark Middle School. And they'll be giving a Teacher of the Year award. Tickets are $10, and they'll be serving a luncheon. And they'll have all youth entertainment. It's sponsored by the St. Martin's in the Desert Episcopal Church in partnership with the Nye Communities Coalition.
Thank you. Anything further? Any public announcements, which is different than public comment? Any announcements? Dave, is it an announcement or a public comment? That comes a little bit later.
I have an announcement. The Us Too Prostate Cancer Support Group meets day after tomorrow, Thursday, 4 p.m. at the Pahrump Library, which is on First Street, I believe that is. We meet at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for about an hour and a half. And we encourage men and their wives or girlfriends or whatever, bring a friend to show up and get educated. There's been a big push to get the best of prostate cancer around our country for the last 18 months, maybe 2 years. And it's starting to pay off in new medicines and new procedures and things like that. So just an announcement. My name is James Gregory. I'm the chairman.
Thank you.
Hi, Sandra Darby. On May 4th, we're having a Libertarian meeting at 6 o'clock at Aries Restaurant. We'd like you all to attend. We have a lot of fun, and we have a social event afterwards at Sherry's Brothel at 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Will Bond, a Pahrump resident, and I'm also president of LWD Incorporated, which is a drug and alcohol testing consortium. I have about 1,250 members nationwide that I administer the drug and alcohol policy, and I've got a personal business license for Pahrump now, plus my corporation is a Nevada corporation. It's been in effect since 2001, and prior to that I was a trustee on the Drug and Alcohol Testing Consortium. And I'm talking to a lot of the companies here in Pahrump and finding out that some of them don't belong to a Drug and Alcohol Consortium, which is a federal requirement, and the Nevada Transit Authority and the Nevada Administration Code adopted that policy 99.9%. So the federal rules are the same now as the Nevada rules. And what I'm doing is taking a serious look to determine if there's enough business here in Pahrump to open a branch office. My corporate headquarters is still in California, and my original plan was to move it over here, but things didn't work out as planned, so it's still there. But I think that there is enough activity here to support a branch office. And I'm passing out a lot of business cards. I was interviewed by Al Jones. I will be on the, what is he, to Think Young, or it's Al Jones and Lynn Peterson.
Young at Heart.
Young at Heart, yes, you're right, thank you. But I will be on their show tomorrow making a presentation there. So I'm going to be contacting everybody, letting them know what services are available. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Paula Elefante. I'm here again to let everyone know that the Pahrump Powwow is recycling ink and toner cartridges. And there is a box in the town office. There's a box in the library. There's a box at the Chamber of Commerce. There's boxes, you'll see them around town at various places. And we would greatly appreciate if everyone would help us to save our environment one cartridge at a time. Drop them off at the boxes. We'll be glad. We're going to be recycling them, and that's part of our fundraising effort for putting on our powwow in November. So just want to remind everyone of that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Bob Irving, and I'm just here to announce and remind people of the breakfast for Mike Reeder. In case you didn't know, he died this last week. And Mike did a lot of stuff around town here, been involved in a lot of different things, the Chamber. And if you've ever been to Wild West Extravaganza, the facades that he had for every one of the homes or the houses or offices, whatever they might be, he built. And I would say he died unexpectedly because I seen him Tuesday morning before he died during the day, the next 2 days. So, and he was sick then, I know that, but he didn't act like he was in that bad a shape. But it was a surprise to me to hear that he went. But there is a breakfast for him on Friday morning at the Nugget at 5 o'clock. Everybody that wants to come there is really appreciated to sort of salute Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Anthony Falcone. I didn't hear anything mentioned about the stand down, and so while I'm here, I'd like to let everyone know that May the 6th at the Desert View Hospital, the VFW, the DAV, the Marine Corps League is sponsoring a stand down for homeless and needy veterans, as well as any homeless in the Pahrump Valley. And we've been getting the word out. The hospital is going to provide food. We're going to feed all of them. There's going to be showers, haircuts, medical, VA representatives to help anyone get their DD-214s, file a claim, those kind of things. So if anyone knows any homeless and you want to get that word out, this is going to be an all-day event from 9 to 5 at Desert View Hospital. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing nobody else getting up for announcements, we will move to item number 7, presentation by Mr. Carl. Huh?
Delane.
Delane. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were telling me number 9. Mr. Carl Delane, Community Assessment Coordinator, Nye County Rural Development Council pertaining to community assessments.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to be here and take a few minutes of your time. Again, my name is Carl Delane. I am the Community Assessment Coordinator for the Nevada Rural Development Council, a private nonprofit corporation. And we've been doing a series of community assessments around Nevada, in rural Nevada, over the past 3 years, and particularly in this past year we've accomplished several. Overall, we've done 9 assessments. I also have a part-time appointment with the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension as a state leadership specialist. And what I want to do with you tonight is to give you, in a few minutes, give you an overview of what a community assessment is about. It's a tool for community development and strategic planning. What it really amounts to is that we interview a large number of people we bring a resource team to town and we interview a large number of people. And out of that, we record their answers and suggestions, and this team of experts will then identify certain themes that are repeated over and over as people are gathered together, and through the listening sessions, we hear those responses. That team will then do a write-up of an implementation plan, and the plan will be available for the community to use. That's essentially what an assessment is about. What do we do in the process is that we identify a resource team, could be anywhere from 3 to 6 volunteer specialists. These are people who would come into town who live or work in rural Nevada and have some understanding of issues and concerns, and also are people who bring resources with them, understanding what some of the resources are that are available in for our communities. We would spend 2 to 4 days in Pahrump. I would estimate that we'd have a team of 5 or 6 volunteer specialists. We'd be here at least 4 days. A listening session is a time for people to answer 3 questions, and in those answers we begin to hear things being repeated. We listen to the community in those facilitated listening sessions. They are non-threatening and non-judgmental. We record the comments that people make. We don't attribute them, but we record all of those comments. And out of those, we identify the major themes that are repeated numerous times as we go through this process with the listening sessions. On the last day of that week, we would hold a town meeting where we would prepare and present a preliminary report to the community on what we had heard through the process. We would then go back to our individual offices and write up a draft report and later a final report. In a listening session, we ask just 3 questions. What are the major problems or challenges in your community? What are the major strengths or assets in your community? And what projects or initiatives would you like to see accomplished in the short term, thinking in terms of up to 24 months, or in the long term beyond that, might be 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from now, what would you like to see accomplished in your community? And we literally, in that session, will have a group of people and we'll go around that room and we'll start with the first question and ask everybody in the room to respond to that. We'll give them a chance to respond more than one time. We will then turn and go to the second question and do the same process, then the third question. A listening session takes about an hour. We ask people to be clear and concise in their answers and to move the process along. Resource team members, these are a few of the entities that have been involved in providing resource team members to the process. The Community Development Block Grant Program, Nevada Small Business Development Center, USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development representatives, representatives from the Nevada Association of Counties, Cooperative Extension, the Arts Council, sometimes private individuals who have been around Nevada and been doing a lot of work in Nevada, retired probably from whatever they're doing, but still have a handle on issues and resources. We work with a local steering committee and we ask that because it's your community, how would you divide out your community in terms of kind of sectors that might be out there, in terms of seeing how we can get to make sure that we have a broad representation within the process. We look at sectors from community groups, from the faith-based groups. We definitely would like to get to the high school and hear what high school students had to say. high school students have a lot of good information about our communities, and not just we don't have anything to do, but a lot of other things. They understand our communities very well. We'd like to hear from the educators, both teachers and administrators. Senior citizens are a very important group to be hearing from because they people often that bring history with them. Government, all of these different sectors, that definitely there would be some general public opportunities for people to come and speak and answer those questions in a general public setting. Actually, all of the sessions would be open to the public at any given time with the exception of the students. That would be a closed session. And if we were to go to a specific service club, obviously that would be a service club meeting and might not be open to the public. But these are a few of the sectors that might be identified within the community to reach out to get that broad base of representation. Again, on the last day of that week, we would hold a town hall meeting. We would invite everyone in the community to participate in that town hall meeting, whether they participated in the listening sessions or not. We would want an opportunity to thank the community for allowing us to come in and help do this process. We'd like to thank the individuals who have been working very hard on the steering committee and on other efforts to make this a success. The team would present what was said. We would actually repeat back some quotes that we heard through the process. And some of those quotes are very insightful. Some of those quotes are things that really focus in on what the community is about and what's important in the community. We would then present what was heard. Those would be the major themes that would be identified through this process. We would discuss the follow-up activities, and then we show a little video called Amazing Maisie, which is how one person can really make a difference in their community because they step up and say, I'm going to make a difference, and I'm going to make something happen. And they do it by making something happen, not just talking about it. Some of the major themes that have been identified in other communities, and we put these in alphabetical order because up to this point we would not put a priority on them because that's something we want the community to do. Aesthetics or beautification, communication, economic development is a big one. Growth issues, heritage, housing, infrastructure, leadership. These are just some of the issues that might rise to the surface as a theme. Then what we will do is go back and write up those themes and bring those back in a prepared report. First in a draft report. I have a couple of reports here if somebody wants to take a look, or what I can do is email these reports to anyone who might be interested. When we were in eastern Lincoln County, we worked in Pioche, Panaca, and Caliente, and because of their general closeness, they were a clear group to be looking at. Their priorities were jobs, infrastructure, including water management. Water is a real issue in Lincoln County. Natural resources. How can we make the best use of the natural resources that we have? Tourism and recreation. How can we build on the recreation and tourism opportunities that we currently have, and how can we expand those? Youth and youth concerns, followed by quality of life. In Churchill County, Fallon, when we were out there and did an assessment, water, positive image projection. They were a community that if you went on the internet and looked up Fallon, you found leukemia, you found arsenic in the water. They needed to change that image. And how do we make that happen? Protect our agriculture because they're strong ag. Economic development, diversification and jobs, infrastructure, youth, communication, recreation, transportation. These were the themes that rose out of those listening sessions that we went through there in Churchill County and Fallon. We would come back in about 8 weeks after we've done the listening sessions. At that point, we would present the draft report, which is a prescription for the community, and also provides the beginning for a continued community strategic plan. How do we move forward from here? At that meeting, we would invite everyone, whether they, again, participated up to this point or not, because it's your future. It's the future of your community. We'd ask them to establish priorities for the themes that have been identified. We'd ask then the people who are there to form committees to start focusing on the issues and concerns that they have. We would help them establish some strategies and objectives toward those issues and start that process of a strategic plan. Give them an outline to begin to do an action plan. What do we do and how do we do it and when do we do it next? Some of the benefits to a community involved in a community assessment: it's an affordable assessment process. The total cost is about $15,000. Part of that would go to the Nevada Rural Development Council to help pay for the cost of putting the assessment together. Part of that would pay for the assessment team to be in the community. Part of that might be available to do some follow-up activities that have been identified. What the assessment does is it gives a mirror look at the community, because we don't come in with any preconception. We ask the community what they think, and then we reflect that back to them. It's the beginning steps of strategic planning, may be used as an in-kind contribution on a grant that might be applied for, because there's a lot of time and effort that's put in by the community. It definitely can be used as an attachment to a grant, that when you're going for a project, you can say, why are we doing this when they ask that? Because our community said that's what they wanted. The report contains a wealth of resources and opportunities for a community. And again, it's a non-threatening process that brings the community together, because there is no judgmental effort being done by the resource team. We hear the response, we record that response. We don't get into an argument, we don't get into a discussion. Again, the final report can be used for strategic planning. It can be the basis for action plans. It can be something that can be given to state or federal agencies to say this is what our community is about and what we would like as a community. It can be used with the Nevada Community Foundations to say, hey, as we're looking for support, this is what our community is called for. Again, an attachment or even match for grants. If it's an Economic Development Administration reporting process, it could be part of that. And it could be identify opportunities within the community for people to become engaged in making a difference in their community, not just complaining about what the issues might be, but actually becoming engaged. The end product would include the report, which contains the major themes and issues that were identified, provides an analysis and recommendations on each of those themes, and identifies resources to carry out those recommendations. We'll also include all of the recorded comments so that you can read the raw data. This is what we heard as we sat in the listening sessions. And most importantly, it invites new people to become engaged in community efforts. That says not only do we want to hear from you, but we want to give you the opportunity to participate in making a difference, a positive difference in our community. Just uses for the local assessments very quickly. In Silver Springs and Stagecoach, when we did the assessment, one of the things that was identified was the need for business development. They created a business building committee to work with the Northern Nevada Development Authority and to help build their businesses that were currently there, and also to seek business opportunities and businesses to come into the community. In Mineral County and Hawthorne, youth concerns were identified as one of the major issues, and a committee was formed made up of youth, school representatives, representatives from the community, representatives from Cooperative Extension, the 4-H program, and other programs to say what can we be doing to aid the youth in our community. One that I really like is that in Douglas County down in Topaz Ranch Estates, which is way down at the southern end of the county, they were having a problem with propane pricing. That was identified clearly within the assessment. Somebody was able to take that assessment, take it to other providers, and when they did that, they ended up with some competitive pricing, and the price of propane actually went down in the community, because it wasn't just come and fill my tank, but we have this whole community that can use your product and your service. In Churchill County, Fallon, again, the positive image was an issue, and they came up with a YouTube campaign that now when you go to Fallon or Churchill County, you can find YouTube of business representatives who are saying, this is what is good about Fallon, this is why I'm here, and this is why you should be here. The community responsibilities in terms of doing this would be to create a steering committee to help develop the agenda and the listening sessions sectors. It would be to provide lodging, meals, and refreshments for the volunteer resource team. It would be to publicize the assessment throughout the community and to recruit volunteers to help with the effort of drawing people into the listening sessions. These would be team captains for the community sectors. The community would also provide a community tour and a guide for the resource team. It's one thing to come in here and sit in a room and listen to a lot of people. It's another thing to get on the ground and actually see what the community is about. Provide a profile and some demographics of the community. What's the background? How many people are here? What kind of community is it? Provide meeting facilities for the listening sessions and the town hall meeting. Copy and distribute the final report. Publicize and organize the community for follow-up. Those would be the responsibilities. The NRDC, I as the Community Assessment Coordinator would work with the local representative to help develop the agenda, the logistics, identify and recruit volunteers. I would select the resource team and provide them with the materials that they need. We would facilitate the listening sessions. We would present the preliminary report at the town hall meeting, prepare the draft report, facilitate the priority setting meeting, and complete the final report, and then be available as a resource team and as a community assessment coordinator with any follow-up activities. At that point, I would be glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
First off, I'd like to thank you very much for your presentation. It was just as enchanting as it was 2 years ago when I saw it in the Eden up in Tonopah, and I appreciate you coming down here. Is there any questions from the board?
I'd just like to add that after listening, I had several questions written down, and you've answered all of them during your presentation. So I appreciate that. The fact that we do need to assess our community and know what our community has to offer, and the only way to do that is to have a community assessment.
Mr. Chairman, I see that the biggest effort here is from the citizens to come forward and really participate and respond and be a part of the process. To me, that seems to be a challenge for any community to show the importance of why we would want to provide this format and this process for people to join in. What's your experience in other communities in the public participation?
In the city of Wells, they identified some issues around a swimming pool that had been destroyed in the earthquake that they had had in the city, the need to redefine their downtown. Much of Front Street, which they had called the old downtown, had been destroyed as part of that earthquake, and so they needed to redefine our downtown area. In both of those efforts, as well as some cleanup efforts, they created some committees of people, of residents, to help focus where those things needed to happen. This whole process is focused on engagement by people in the community. The last thing I ever want to see out of an assessment is a to-do list for the town board or a to-do list for the county commission or the to-do list for somebody else. What we look for is a to-do list that says, I need to do this. And that's what will be successful in this effort.
What's your experience with the results as far as when you accumulate everything and do you go back and assess after a year, find out how it's worked and what has been accomplished?
Well, those communities that have embraced the process and have really taken a hold, there have been some significant movement forward. Again, I think of the city of Wells. In other committees, there have been smaller steps that have been taken that are moving them in a positive direction where people have come together. Again, in Silver Springs and Stagecoach, that's a citizen committee. It's not a town board committee. And that's been an important part of that process, that it's the citizens who are now working with the development authority to build the businesses there in the community.
Mr. Culkin.
Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Parker just handed me this. Through March 2011, Nevada, probably a big surprise to everybody, has the highest unemployment rate in the nation, 23.7%. I'd be willing to bet in Nye County it's a lot higher than that. It's no secret that the town of Pahrump is trying to bring in economic development. And having lived in other places in Nevada, I can tell you that Nye County is a little bit different than other places. And the biggest hurdle that we have, frankly, is that I think government is a business. And I think that the Nye County part of our business here hasn't done very well planning for the future and how it's spent its money. And we have a tough working relationship with the county trying to bring in economic development. This town tried to take over planning and zoning by Senate Bill 155, and the county fought us successfully, and we were not able to do that. So my question to you is, I don't think that we're going to get any surprises out of what's on the people's minds in our town and what they'd like to see. My question is, can you help us get a better working relationship with the county for the betterment of this town?
One of the challenges that we identified in White Pine County and Ely is exactly that between City Council, which is an independently elected board, and the County Commission, in terms of they're in the same town even, and they were having some difficulty in communicating. And we have recommended that they begin that process of starting to hold some joint meetings to start looking at joint projects. I know that in Lovelock and in Pershing County that there were some of those issues as well between the city and the county. And they have now begun those processes of joint meetings to be able to share their concerns from their individual directions. A town board, as you are very well aware, is a different body than a city council in that you are part of Nye County. But again, it's building those relationships with the individual commissioners, and it's building those relationships with county and town staff in ways that it's not all done necessarily in these official actions, but as we talk with one another as individuals, we can begin to see where our commonalities are and where our differences are. And if we accept the fact that we're all moving in good faith and that we all have the same hopes and desires for our county and our communities, we can begin to build those relationships and move forward. But it's important that there probably be some joint meetings, that you invite the county commissioner, invite yourselves to be part of a joint meeting with the county commission and be able to talk about some of the issues that you've identified.
Thank you.
Ms. Parker.
Yeah, I would like to say that I've been aware of your program because my husband's a big proponent of it. And I've heard nothing but good things about it. My own personal feelings on this is that it's an awful lot of bang for the buck because you can spend a fortune on consultants. And for $15,000, this, to me, seems like a good deal. I would like to mention for those of you out here, too, that the members of this assessment team, if I'm correct, they're volunteers, members of their own communities,
Yes.
rather than government bureaucrats.
They are people who are working or living in rural Nevada, and many of them do work for agencies. They may be government agencies or nonprofit agencies. We would not have anybody from Pahrump or Nye County on the resource team. We would not have anybody who had a strong connection with Nye County, because what we want to bring again is that objectivity and non-judgment.
Fresh eyes.
Fresh eyes, so that we are hearing with fresh ears and seeing with fresh eyes, so that we reflect back what we see and hear and not what we think we already know.
Well, having worked with the Last Chance Park Group, where they had a number of public meetings, and we had as many as 80 plus at meetings, and we took down their comments and we worked with them. I can see that you can come up with an end result that most people are happy with.
Mr. Chair, something that Mr. Culkin had said a few meetings ago about taking responsibility and moving forward and doing the work that needs to be done. And I completely agree with that concept. And I think that's what you're pointing out, is that it's not just the government or the town board's responsibility, it's the community that needs to come together and listen to each other and be heard and actually have their voice be part of the findings rather than have it come from a government entity down and say, this is the findings and we're going to move ahead with it. So to me, that's a real important key to this. One thing, though, is if this was accomplished, I could see that through what you said, the benefit is that it's going to be widespread. There's going to be a use for this in many places, grants and et cetera. And many of those can't be accomplished if we don't have that working relationship with the county, for instance. So with that, is there some way to work with the county on initiating the process?
I would be glad to meet with the county commission. On my way down today, I stopped in Tonopah and talked to a representative there about doing one in Tonopah. I stopped in Beatty and talked to someone there about doing one in Beatty, and starting to look at if the Nevada Rural Development Council is going to be doing community assessments in Nye County, that yes, I need to talk to county representatives, and I'm going to be doing some of that tomorrow.
And is there a method to share the funding cost and to be able to have equitable division of the cost, or how is that usually covered?
Cost for the assessment comes from a number of different places. When we went to Douglas County, they were in a position to simply paid for it straight out. So it was all local Douglas County money. Pershing County and Lovelock, they have the greater Pershing partnership, and the partnership was able to pay for the assessment. In Wells and in Churchill County, Fallon, Silver Springs, and some of the others, it's been the Community Development Block Grant Program has been able to pay for those. In another community, we're working with Gerlach right now, and we're seeking grants from entities that have a strong connection with the city, with the community up there, particularly the Mining Association and the Burning Man folks that go up there once a year and saying, hey, can you step up and help this community find the resources to make this assessment possible? So those are the kinds of places that we go. But it's as much the community looking at its resources and how can it pull things together. We had approached the Community Development Block Grant Program about funding part of the assessment down here. They only funded one assessment. They did not fund two as we had initially requested. And those funds are going to be used in Yerington because they have less resource, I'll put it that way just clearly, and are fully eligible for the low to moderate income benefit.
Anything further from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Ms. Parker that the amount of money sounds very reasonable. But I have to ask the question, in the assessments that you've done already, have you ever gone much over that? And I say that because, you know, in many cases when we allocate some funds, it comes up short and then we have to allocate more and more. So in the assessments that you've completed, the $15,000, is that usually sufficient to take care of everything?
Yes, at this point. The Nevada Rural Development Council, out of the $15,000, gets about 10. Part of that covers, a lot of that covers my time. A lot of that, it covers travel, the ability to get back and forth and those kinds of things. That leaves an additional $5,000 in some of those grants to, if it's grant money, that's follow-up money. That's money that's then available that as things are identified, if you need further business work with the Nevada Small Business Development Centers, that could help pay for that kind of thing. If you need to have a business inventory done, if there are things that come out of the assessment, if you need strategic planning assistance, these are the kinds of things then that the follow-up money can be used for. Our portion of the $15,000 would be the 10.
Anything further from the board?
Is there a next step? Do we just take it under consideration? I'm not sure what.
This is a
Bring it forward.
presentation.
Okay, bring it forward to, okay, thank you.
Mr. Calkins.
Chairman. Just to make things clear, so you would identify what this community can evolve into and service its needs, and if we have some problems with the county, you'd be able to offer suggestions on how we can work all this out and move forward, correct?
I wouldn't promise that.
Oh, I'll be
I
glad
didn't
to
say it would
solve.
work. I said you'd offer suggestions on how we can.
I'll be glad to solve all your problems. It's no, yeah. As we identify, again, part of the process is that we identify the theme, whatever that theme might be, and if it's communication, then what are some of the recommendations on how to strengthen communication? In the city of Fernley, part of the problem was how does the commission or the city council communicate to the people? Because there's a lot of things that are done and hard to believe, but misinformation is out there. But more, as importantly, how do citizens report back to the city council? And yeah, there's public comment opportunities, and you all get emails and buttonholed on things. But how do we maintain that open communication in ways that people don't think things are being done in secret, and that they can be heard when they have concerns? That's part of what this process is about, is that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. And again, the three questions aren't just what's the problem, but what are the strengths? Why are you here? What's good about being here? And then what do you like to see accomplished? What would you, and then when we come back, what are you willing to do to help get something accomplished here? And that's what it really comes down to.
Well, what I'm feeling is that being an outside group, so to speak, of professionals, if you identify our needs and solutions and so on, I'm thinking that might go a long ways to mend the fence, so to speak, and move on. Because that's, you know, first you have to identify the problems, and unfortunately, you know, some people don't like to do that. But then once we get past that, we can move forward. And I'm thinking with your help, we'll be able to do that. Otherwise, I got a feeling we'll just be getting nowhere.
And also, Mr. Culkin, if I may, is it's my understanding that it's not you coming with the report or with the answers. It's the citizens, it's the community that comes up. And so there's everybody's opportunity to have their voice heard, and our own individual perceptions could be changed or could be broadened with the understanding of what everybody is thinking and wanting to bring forward. So to me, the importance is not that this will identify the problems, but that it's able to be an action-oriented statement afterwards. People can say, well, this is how I see it, and maybe we can do this, and then it can be moved forward. So I can see it being very beneficial. Thank you.
And again, some of those recommendations will be recommendations that we hear from the community. On the other hand, because we are people who have background and experience in rural communities, we will bring our own recommendations as well. That says, you know, we've seen this work in another community, and you might give it a try here.
Okay.
I think the final end result, though, will depend upon Pahrump. We have to take what you bring to us and put it into action. So it's all going to eventually fall upon the citizens of Pahrump to get it done, not government.
Anything further from the board?
I think it's government's the one that's going to be able to allow these things to move forward. And I think by being an independent outside source, what you have to say will have a lot more weight. I don't think we'd have any trouble putting a group of people together in our community and identifying our needs and solutions, but I think being an outside source, it'll have more credibility and more impact on those that are rather adverse to making the changes. So I think that your help would be very important.
The last slide here is just my contact information, and that's the P.O. box and the phone number and the email address. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. If you find yourself with further questions, do feel free to contact me. And if it will be helpful for me to come down again, I will definitely be glad to come down again.
Thank you very much, and we do have some questions from the public.
John Pollock, former member of the PV-CAT. It seems odd that I seem to remember we did the same process about 7 or 8 years ago. And before we go forward with another process for $15,000 or whatever it is, we should review the recommendations that we had from our own strategic plan from the PV-CAT at that time. Because many of the people that were on those committees are still here, and I'm sure we could find those recommendations and see how those fared with the town here. Because maybe I've been here too long, but we've been through this before, and I was on that committee, and many of the people here, the good citizens, were on that committee also.
I would like to see those, Johnny, if there's a chance of finding those.
I'll look in my garage if other people look in their garages.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I was also on PV-CAT, and I'll tell you how it played out. A single person set the whole thing up, and it was from the university in Las Vegas. And not knowing everybody, the person just made people, I think you should be the chair of this and that. Well, guess what? The person thought I should be the chair of the do with zoning and all that kind of stuff. Well, what went on is the common scenario in Pahrump. The people that normally eventually do nothing want to weed out the people that did something. So it didn't take long, and they put me in a position. I said, forget it, I've had enough of this, and I left. And then that happened to the other groups. And then what was left was a body of people that normally don't do anything. And it all fizzled out. So I appreciate what you're saying, but it goes to, this is not just a person, but a group of people that I think have a lot more credibility than the one person that came from the college. And I think this would be a major step in this community going forward.
But I have to say that the people that were on these committees are very well-respected business people, and I have a lot of respect for them also, and you included, and you're here.
And if the information's out there, I would like to see it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I gave a lot of the information to Donna Lee. Big stack, so she might have it.
Like the old saying goes, those who forget the past are destined to relive it, so we could use that information possibly to do better this time, possibly.
Actually, yeah, Paula Elefanti saved it for years, and she gave it to me, and I saved it for a while, and then I gave it to Donna Lee LeDuc because she wanted it. So that would be a good starting place.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make clear, the information would certainly be useful. I just meant that it sort of seemed like you were trying to say that let's just use that information and go back and not use this new group of people. I think the two together would be great.
But, yeah, we put a lot of work into that also, so I just don't want that to be forgotten and, just be spinning our wheels.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Bring it forward and share it with this group, and I think it'll be very beneficial.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hold it, Paula.
He's bigger than you are.
Yes. Yes, my name is Arthur Jones. I just have a question to ask. Did your organization did the same study last year, or was it you?
We have done 9 community assessments around rural Nevada, but no, we have not done an assessment here in Pahrump.
This is your first time doing assessments here?
Here in Pahrump, yes.
And another question is that you're speaking about monies. Now, you said what, 13,000, 15,000?
15.
15? Well, I never seen a budget that started out with 15,000, did not go above 15,000. And as John said, we have done enough studies in this town to know where everything is at, and know what we have to do is jobs. So and if you come to take the word from an outsider, you don't need no boards. Because the ones that making the studies, doing the studies, the ones that been living here, I've been out here since 92. Matter of fact, June the 15th, 1992. And I knew exactly what's going on out here. If you want to throw away $15,000, give it to me.
Thank you.
Am I on now? Okay. The report that John Pollock was talking about is called Visioning for the Future, and the last time I saw it was in the town manager's office on the shelf. That was before Mr. Kohlbarger sat in that chair. But that's the title of that report. It's about this thick. What Mr. Delane has to offer, and I went through that community assessment training about 4 years ago, it's not like a SWOT analysis. It's not a SWOT, what's good, what's bad, what sucks, and what needs to be thrown out. That's not it. And it's not what we did when Harley and I and John and several other people set in on preparing that visioning, and that was paid for by the economic development funds that come out of the room tax. That paid $12,000 for UNLV to come in, and we did 22 hours, 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, in cramped quarters, because there were about 70 of us there, in a very small restaurant that hasn't existed in a long time. And Post-it notes were all over the place with what everybody thought in different categories. It was prepared for the town with town monies, and the town put it on the bookshelf. Okay? So, and out of that came an organization called PVCAT, Pahrump Valley Community Action Team. And there were, the people that served on that, got involved with PVCAT, did make some things happen. There was a time when you couldn't drive into this town without every single 6 feet having a stinking homemade wooden sign that turned out to be on NDOT property. Got rid of those things real fast. And that was just before the master planning process began in this community. What Mr. Delane has to offer is not like anything we've had before, and I think what took place a year ago was when the town contracted with UNR to do an assessment here as far as incorporating, and I think that's what was just brought up. So I have to say, as a community person, having been around a long time and seen a lot of these things come about, what this is not what we've had. What it is will make a difference. It engages groups of people, so as far as how to get people involved, you go to Rotary, you go to Kiwanis, you go to the hospital, you go to the boys, the Boys and Girls Club, you go to organizations and make it, it's open to everybody. Anybody can show up at these meetings. Anyway, that's what it is. Visioning for the Future is the name of that report that was prepared about 9 years ago, maybe 10.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Bob Irving. I just have one question for you, sir, and that is, how many of these communities that you've did this evaluation and set up this stuff, how many of them actually taken over to what you've done, the information that has been used?
There have been a variety of responses to the community assessment. Again, the city of Wells has probably been the most dynamic in terms of taking a hold of the assessment and involving residents in carrying out the recommendations that were identified in those themes. In other cases, in Douglas County, for instance, when you talk about prior reports, one of the things they did following this community assessment was to go back and collect 7 or 8 reports that had been done over the last 10 years or so in Douglas County and pull those together and found that a lot of the themes and a lot of the issues that had come up in the community assessment were things that had been around for a long time, things that had not been dealt with in many ways. And so they were able to do that. In other communities, it has not been as successful because community members have not embraced making things happen. And that's where some of the smaller step-by-step have happened as opposed to big things that we think of. But all things are built brick by brick, and that's what's important. People participating in building those bricks.
My only worry about this is that I've been here for a number of years, and I've seen the committees be put together on things on subjects like this and whatever else it might be, and these people are hardworking volunteers that go out there and put all this information together, and only to have the town board say, well, we're going to go out to so-and-so's corporation in California and pay them $15,000 to $20,000 or $30,000 to give the same answers that this committee has. And this is the one thing that really bothers me about, and it's been brought up a couple of times about how is this going to grow, is that we're going to go and spend this time doing all this stuff as a volunteers, putting all this information together, and then he submits it to us, we pay him $15,000, but what the board thinks that the people don't know what they're talking about, so we're going to go California and have the University of California tell us whether we're right or wrong or not and pay them $30,000. And this has happened a number of times on this town, on boards. So I'm more or less, this is my concern, is the money, where it's going to come from if they don't accept what the people have put together.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Push the button, Dave.
Dave Stevens, Pahrump citizen and taxpayer. This is a very polished man. I mean no disrespect to him. We paid money in California, $38,000 if I remember right. We could have given it to that college over there. They made a better presentation than that guy in California that come out here. And if this $15,000, you give that college a couple $1,000 over there, you get a better presentation. It don't mean nothing. This don't mean nothing. This is Pahrump. You got all together a different place here. You people are just beginners on this stuff. You got a long ways to go. I'm telling you straight. I can see, I went over at that meeting there. I could see a lot of things there that you don't know that I could see. I have no education. I was jerked up. Like that deal, you're going to kick me out of here or something. You better think twice on that. I'll tell you that right now. And this saying somebody calls somebody a name or something, they can call me a name back. I don't mean to call people names. I do. I know that. I got a lot of disrespect for some of these people. A whole lot of disrespect. And I've got a lot of respect for some of them. If they're wrong, I got no respect for them. But $15,000, can you imagine what a person could do for $15,000? Jesus, I could do all kinds of things. I'd go back up to Washington. Yeah. What I'm trying to say here, and I can't explain things, it's right in you people's hands. I wouldn't pay no $15,000 to nobody. Guy come by my house and want to fix my roof, I run him out of there. Or anybody else who comes around my house. I wouldn't run this gentleman. He's a gentleman. I am too. I want to get my money's worth here. I got to stay here another 34 seconds. But when you come up with this stuff, you're going to kick people out of here and all that stuff. I got out of kindergarten 76 years ago. If I call Kohlberger a name, I can take it back, you know.
Did you graduate from kindergarten?
Huh?
Did you graduate from kindergarten?
Just about. I'm trying to get you fired so I can get you down there and get my ears back.
That's because you miss me.
I can't hear. That's what gets me all in trouble all the time.
Time's up.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. I didn't really mean to get carried away, but I do. When I see money around, I get crazy. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Jim Dunzing. It's Economics 101. In bad economic times like we're in now, at 23, 27% unemployment, you cut government spending. You don't increase it. My guess with this is that if we have this program and we have all these meetings, we're going to have about this exact group of people in that forum saying exactly what they would say if they came down here and spoke. And at the end, we're going to have somebody else to rewrite and summarize what everybody had to say. We don't need to spend $15,000 to accomplish that.
Could you back away from the mic, please?
Oh, yeah.
There's
We don't need to spend $15,000 to have someone else summarize our opinions. When we're done with that process, we're going to be back here, and the report's going to say we need more jobs, and it's going to say we need better infrastructure, and water is a problem, and hydroponics in the prison. Give me $10,000 and call yourselves ahead. I'll give half of it to Dave. But cut spending when the government's as it is right now. If we cut the amount of spending the government's got, we can reduce taxes. All that will actually improve the economy more than doing one more study. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, references are important as well. And as a former resident in Douglas County, and you mentioned it, you went to Douglas County, I go there a lot, and they're quite successful. Like we got the Starbucks coffee we sell over the store. They got the factory that makes the stuff. And if they felt that they can use some community assessment, I'd have to place a little value in that. This town is dying. If I was dying, should I say, well, I'm poor, I can't afford to fix myself, I should just die? Or should I try to get me some money and try to reverse that trend? You have to spend money to make money. That's just the way it is. If we don't do anything, we're going to continue on the same road we're on, and this town's going to die. It's got one foot in the grave already.
Yeah, Bruce Colley, resident. Mr. Dalen, 15,000, yeah, easy come, easy go. The gentleman here said he's got 8 or 9 towns in Nevada he's already done this in, is that correct?
Correct.
Seems to me the common sense thing to do would be to contact these towns, talk to the people, see what happened, how it worked out, if it was worth the money, the first step before you even consider starting getting engaged in another contract with something that you're not really sure what the outcome is going to be. I'm sure he'd be more than willing to give you the names of the places that this program has gone through. And if you want to go ahead with it or whatever, or bargain with him or do a little dickering, maybe he's getting tight on money too. But I saw in the paper we're about $789,000 short on budget or something along that line, and how Harley wants a new car now. Thank you.
I would agree with you 100% on that. I think it's important that you do talk to communities that have had a community assessment to see how they have used it, whether they see it as a value, and whether it has provided them with additional resources, additional support. That is very important. This program has been done successfully in Wyoming. They've done more than 100 communities up there. It's been done in the state of Washington and in other states. We're just getting started in Nevada with the 9 communities we've done, but yes, I would recommend that you talk to representatives from those communities.
Mr. Chairman, it wouldn't be a waste to hire this person. What would be a waste if this board here voted to go ahead and move forward and then did nothing with the information? That would be the waste.
Well, right now, this is just a presentation.
understand.
We're not voting tonight, so
I understand.
All right.
Hi,
Wonder where the comments coming from.
Sandra Darby. Perhaps the thing to do, I was watching TV today, and I was watching that 1.2 million jobs left the state of California. 165,000 new jobs entered the state of Texas. Perhaps the thing to do is call the state of Texas and find out what they are doing right. One of the things that they are doing right is lessening the regulations. California is increasing regulations. Maybe we should find out if they're doing assessments in Texas. You know, call the small towns, find out what's happening, find out what kind of regulations they are lessening to get the jobs there. Because Texas is booming, California is not, Nevada is not. You know, I mean, he's done assessments, but we're still running at a huge rate of unemployment in the state of Nevada. We should do a little bit of research and find out why Texas is not suffering like the rest of the country. Thank you.
Could I say one thing?
Yes.
Talk to me afterward, because I sat through an hour-and-a-half presentation on exactly that by a representative from the state of Texas. I can give you some detailed information.
Okay, thank you.
Get started.
Good evening, Town Board. My name is Bill Garlow, citizen of Pahrump in Nye County. I have nothing against this gentleman's business, but what I do, I've been on many boards before. I worked with Tricor Engineering and Consensus Planning when we spent millions of dollars to have ourselves try to get zoning in here and try to get a master plan. At the end of it, I received an email from Tricor Engineering for $50,000 that they would finish up what we needed for our master plan. Our county commissioners voted to get rid of Tricor Engineering, and we hired a company out of California to come in for $680,000 to finish up the master plan. Then Tricor Engineering, I called them in New Mexico. They told me that the company out of California contacted them to get all their information to present to the Nye County commissioners. So I don't think the problem's with the town board, and I don't think the $15,000 is that great. But what I do believe is I would like for this gentleman to present this to the Nye County commissioners and get some type of something out of them. Our main problem here isn't, well, unemployment is maybe, it's a lot higher than 26, 27%. I sat in on a meeting where it's at 44%. But anyway, we need to develop here, we need to bring businesses in, and if we don't control Charles Abbott Associates, Building and Safety Department and the Planning Department, we don't control nothing. I just spoke a couple of weeks ago to a guy who a year ago, January, put in to start a business here in Pahrump, still never received his planning documents, and he is now financially broke and he's leaving. I called Los Angeles County and asked them get a permit to build. I told them that I bought property on a commercial zone and I wanted to build a business, and my engineer will be down there with the papers and that. How long would it take me to get a permit to start my business? He says, oh, probably about 10 minutes. I said, 30 days is too long? He says, well, yeah, if it's zoned for commercial and you're complying with it, that's what it should be. We can't get that here. I understand people, why they don't come in. So I would like to see the gentleman talk. Let's put a citizens group together to oversee the planning department, where the permits are issued, the building and safety department, and see why it's taking people a year, 2 years, possibly just to get a business license to start building here in Pahrump. I appreciate him coming down, and I think it'll be a great idea, but I think before we commit ourselves to the money, I think we ought to hear from the county commissioners if they're going to go along with any of it, because without businesses, we don't have nothing. And our unemployment is quite high. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just so people know, Mr. Dallin is going to make a presentation tomorrow at the Master Plan Revision meeting. So he will be presenting the concept also to that part of the county. Or actually, it's about Pahrump Valley's master plan revision, so.
Don Cox, resident of Pahrump. You know, we've all been around here since the 70s. You know how bad it got in the 70s. The government controls if you work or not. We're back into that problem again. Washington doesn't care about Nevada, and I'm talking about Harry Reid. He's done nothing for this state. We're not working right now. We got the highest unemployment rate. It's because of Washington, not because of our town, not because of what we're trying to do. The county commissioners do hurt this town when it comes to put businesses in here. Harley knows that. You know that. And most of us out here knows what happens to Jesse Rock. That's what goes on in this county, in this town, every day. But until the government straightens up and lets us have our freedom back, we're not going to have no jobs here. It all starts at Washington. This man ain't going to make a bit of difference. I've seen it happen too many times in my life, and I'm going to see it happen some more. We're hurting. We're going to stay hurting until somebody in Washington gets out. That's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Riches, Pahrump. I'm very fortunate. I'm retired. I don't need a job. I'd like to know the percentage of the Pahrump population that is either retired or commutes to Las Vegas. I would like to know during Pahrump's boom times, what that percentage was, which makes me wonder if the bulk of the population is either retired or commutes, how desperate do we need how many jobs? We're 60 miles from the nearest airport, 60 miles from the nearest freeway. Distribution centers, that sort of thing, are out of the question. The best you're going to get is a restaurant, a donut shop. And I would also like to ask this gentleman, I hear a lot of buzzwords. I hear move forward. I hear progress, things of that nature. I'd like to know the specific take Wells, for example. They're right on a freeway. They could handle a distribution center or something of that nature. But I'd like to know what specific recommendations you made to them and what specific action they took on any of them.
One of the recommendations was fairly straightforward. Over and over, people said this town needs to be cleaned up. If we expect people to stop in our town and be part of our town, it needs to look good.
You mean it was full of trash?
Lots of trash, lots of weeds, lots of
Do we need to pay somebody
around.
$15,000 to tell us that?
They said that. I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was to the point that the city government heard that so often, they started cleaning up city property before the team even left. So there wasn't even a recommendation that said clean up your town. That was what the people had said they needed to have.
What did you
Secondly, they began to enforce ordinances in terms of abandoned vehicles. And when people said, well, why are you enforcing this ordinance now? They were able to say, this community assessment, this is not what we say, it's what the people in Wells said. They wanted it cleaned up. And as a result, they got into cleaning up.
I'm asking what you recommended.
Okay, I was not on the Wells assessment team.
Well, pick any city and tell me something you recommended.
Again, in Silver Springs, they were talking about the fact that they needed to have jobs, they needed to have business development, so that they had businesses that were successful. The recommendations that were made were to work with the small business development centers in terms of bringing business training to business people who were currently there to help support those businesses that were already there. How do you help build a business that's currently there? Secondly, this question of what you need to do is form a committee, and you need to get with the Development Authority, which is the Northern Nevada Development Authority, and you need to say, hey, you people represent our community. We need to be part of the process so that we're not just, you don't know anything about our community. We need to be there to tell you about that. And that was not happening, and so we made that recommendation that said, hey, you need to form a committee, you need to form a group of people who are willing to step up and work with them. You've got one of the premier development authorities in the state right next door in Clark County. Clark County has some severe limitations on the kind of businesses that they can bring in. Having a group here who is working with the Nevada Development Authority in Clark County saying, hey, don't remember that we have opportunities, but it's knowing also what kinds of businesses will work here. You know, distribution's going to be a challenge, but what will work here? And there are businesses that will work here because they're doing it now. I mean, those are the kinds of recommendations that we make as we go through the process. We hear what the community says.
Okay, form a committee, get with this group, get with that group. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I hear a lot of, we shouldn't do this, but I haven't heard anybody say what we should do or what's going to work, and nothing has worked up to this point. What's wrong with the town of Pahrump is real simple. Too much of us is controlled by the Nye County commissioners, right? And the things they put in place. What's the answer to Texas being so successful bringing business? The short of it would be they got a welcome mat out. Well, Pahrump doesn't have a welcome mat. It has a no trespassing sign. And we need help to change signs.
Donna Cox, resident, taxpayer. I think you're trying to duplicate services here. We already have Mr. Balaqui who can do these things. We have a town manager and we have a town board. And I think our problem is in the past we haven't had a very active town board. And as an elected official, you people have the rights to go out and do exactly what this man's talking about doing. You're the liaison between what the people want and what can get done. And sitting on a town board, you can make it happen without costing $15,000. I would rather see $15,000 spent to hire you some part-time help to help you pursue your dreams or your things that are brought to you by the people, or, you know, for instance, if Harley has some ideas, you know, let's pay a local person that needs a paycheck really bad $15,000 to get with him and help him get it done. If you feel that already Mr. Balaqui is overloaded or Mr. Kohlbarger is overloaded, and keep the money here where it belongs, because there's people here desperate for jobs, and it doesn't take a lot of brains to be able to do the research and make phone calls and get things done, just some computer knowledge. But then again, we're already paying Mr. Balaqui a lot of money to see to it that the town is cleaned up and signs are removed and things move forward. And if we already have somebody being paid for it and they're not doing the job adequately, then I suggest you go to them and build a fire. Even you, Harley, with your project that you want to bring in, you know, let's get the people we're already paying to do this. I just hate to see another level of government or anything come in here that's going to cost us more than we can already afford. I think you need to take a serious look at this, and maybe even 6 months down the road, if you can't accomplish what you want to accomplish by being the liaison between the people and the needs of the town and being able to move forward, that then maybe you call these people back and talk to them and say, well, we tried what the people wanted and it didn't work. And maybe the financial economics will be a little bit better by then, if not worse, but I'm hoping they're going to get better. But yeah, let's apply this money right here in town so it can circulate. If we're going to spend it, let's do it right. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no one else up for public discussion, I thank you, Mr. Dolan.
Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
That brings us to item number 4, public comment. I'm sorry, Mr. Dolan, do you need a minute to get your stuff gathered together before we get into public comment? So we'll take a 2-minute break, 3-minute break, recess for a minute. If I can get the members of the board to return to their seats, please. Yeah, see them all running up here. I'm losing more than I'm gaining. I'd like to call this meeting of the Pahrump Town Board back to order. Will the members of the board please take their seats?
Hey, how you doing?
Missing Miss Parker. Not very well. My arm hurts really bad.
There she comes.
All right, we are getting ready to start item number 4, public comment.
Good evening again. My name is Jim Dunsing. I'm coming here tonight to discuss not something that will be on tonight's agenda, but on next meeting's agenda. The Libertarian Party of Nye County, of which I'm the vice chair, has voted to put forward a bill, and I'll read it because it's short. The short title is Restoring Freedom to Improve Our Local Economy. Whereas the Town Board of the unincorporated town of Pahrump is not desirous of regulating, licensing, controlling, or keeping statistics concerning businesses within the unincorporated town of Pahrump, and whereas the Town Board of the unincorporated town of Pahrump is desirous of ensuring that the citizens and customers will not be subject to illegal or unethical regulatory practices, and whereas the Town Board of the unincorporated town of Pahrump realizes that the licensing of businesses has not positively contributed to the health, safety, or welfare of the people of Pahrump. Now, therefore, the Town Board of the unincorporated town of Pahrump, Nye County, Nevada, does hereby completely repeal Pahrump Town Ordinance Number 35 and its progeny, thereby abolishing business licenses from the peaceful and voluntary interactions of the free people of Pahrump. Now, we can either repeat the mistakes of the past, or we can be part of the small minority of people throughout history who have done the right thing. The rule historically is under times of stress, under times of war, the government grows larger. We saw it in the 30s with FDR, we saw it with Hitler, we saw it in Russia before the Soviets were Soviets, and we saw the opposite in a few small areas throughout world history. One of them was our own country, Concord and Lexington, the Revolution of '75. Our people said we need less government, not more. We had a positive revolution, and the world is far better for it. Now, we can either continue on the FDR path, the Obama path, of more government, more regulation, more licenses, more stuff up here to get between the people who are actually doing the jobs and the people who need the services. Or we can go the other way and be a model for not just the state, but for the country, to reduce the amount of red tape, bureaucracy, and unimportant nonsense that goes on between people who want to work for a living and people who want services. We need a freer economy, a less costly government, and this is one small step towards achieving that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I would like to do just a quick little bit of information on government. At the far right, you have anarchy. That's no government. Then, not too far from that, you have republic, which is what we're supposed to be. But I keep hearing the odious word democracy, 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 until I want to throw up. After you bypass democracy and go into this democracy crap, that leads to socialism, oligarchy, and eventually dictatorship. Those are all not good. The Founding Fathers gave us a constitutional republic. And I would like this town board and the people in here that hear me to start using the term republic and get rid of democracy. Democracy is mob rule. There's no mention of democracy in any of the founders' documents, in the Constitution and Declaration. Democracy doesn't exist. The Founding Fathers said democracy is mob rule. It's the foulest form of government you can have. So let's get off and say right. Words have meaning. Let's use the proper words. And I'm all for getting rid of about 90% of the government we have. This country is going down on its knees because we have in the presidency, I hate him to admit the clown is the president, but he is an economic terrorist. And if you folks haven't seen what's going on in D.C., now the IMF is going to be monitoring us and sanctioning us. What in the hell is that all about? Passports are being moderated and changed, so we can't travel like we wanted to. There's a ton of things going on. And quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, the town board, the other board, what the hell they call them? County commissioners. We're arranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Well, this country's going down the tube. Why don't we in this town savvy up, everybody get a copy of this and read it, and start turning America around? Be an example to the rest of this country. Start being a republic. See, what else can I hammer on here? I've got some time left. No, thank you very much. But, oh, by the way, I do have time. I have the Citizens Rule Book. They're $1. I'm trying to distribute them around this town. I want to see every citizen in this town who understands and can read one of these books. Harley's got one, and good for Harley.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to comment on that. Now, we are a republic, and what that means is every group, so to speak, has a representative, and in a democracy, majority rules. And we are a republic. Now, one of my pet peeves is when people don't practice what they preach. What I'm getting at is we're all sitting here because groups of people voted for us to sit here. So that doesn't mean we're all the same. It means different groups with different ideas voted for us, and we're sitting here. So my message to you is practice what you preach. If Mrs. Parker and I don't agree on something, respect that. But too much the public says, if we don't think like you, whatever which board members that is, then the other ones are wrong. No, they represent someone, a different train of thought, different group of people. So practice what you preach.
I'd like to make one point, Harley. If we were democracy, you five wouldn't just be voting. It'd be all of us voting on every issue. We understand that. Bad news.
Yeah. I'm just saying that we vote differently and respect that because we are a republic, and that's why we're sitting here.
Gary Brzezicki, resident. I'd like to read a letter that I wrote to...
Excuse me, sir. Can you back away from the microphone?
I'd like to read a letter that I sent to the county and the planning board back on May 11th of '07, almost 4 years ago. And it's referring to my lot in the north, about 9 miles north. Dear sir or madam, as a new owner of lot number, and I got it in here, doesn't matter, that has built a new home on this lot with plans to build a total of about 15 new homes, I was very disturbed to learn at such a late date to plan to remove the rezone. I have spent many days personally researching Nye County Planning Board records and was never informed of any such plan. I have major disabilities and am presently back in New Jersey for 2 operations and personal business. My options for gainful employment are limited, as your letter states. Rezone it to a quote park would make my property worthless. I have copies of your files that clearly indicate that the previous owners were subdividing the remaining land into lots with your blessing, over the objection of nearby lot owners by letters. If I was informed prior to purchase or building my house, I may not have proceeded, but now to have such a major time and money investment, this was never a practical lot to be used as a park, and now blocked by the house at the east side at the point of ingress is lost. At many previous points in time, Nye County could have taken steps to acquire this land. The lot even went through a United States bankruptcy case and was never contested. To now, without ownership of this land or any offer to purchase, to rezone it, make it unusable, for me, the result is more than just unfair. This is only the tip of the iceberg, but if needed, I will proceed with protecting my investment. I moved to Pahrump because of my belief in the county. I hope this misunderstanding can be cleared up. If we all work together, Nye County has the last great chance to really grow. With retiring baby boomers, we only need 0.1% building new homes here. We don't have hurricanes, tornadoes, mudslides, volcanoes, earthquakes, massive floods, fires, or blizzards. We do have an easy, laid-back life and a lot of land and a workforce to service them. This was 4 years ago. You people wanted a green park area, a green zone. You're the county, you guys are working together. I've been directed to the county to come here. I'm being directed back to planning boards. I'm not jerking around anymore. I'm already involved in a suit with the county. I'm asking you guys to do the right thing, step forward. I don't care if you could chip in $1 or you buy the whole park, but just buy the land. You can't be screwing around with people's personal. I got my whole investment here. How many times have we heard people putting money out? Jesse Rock put up a building, took it down. Do the right thing. Step forward. You wanted a park. The people wanted the park. The letters are in the county records. I have copies of them. Please come up. I'm making a last offer. I got like $1 million in damages. I've lost $40,000 or more just in rental as one house sits up there empty. Meanwhile, the town has earned on their impact fees.
Sir, I understand how passionate you are about this, but we do have a time limit.
Okay. I'm asking that the you guys get together with me in the county. I've got an offer out there. It expires May 4th. That I'm asking just for what I got into the property, not damages, not losses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Stevens, Pahrump citizen, taxpayer. I went to the meeting over there between the town board and the town commissioners. And that was very good. I liked that. I think they should do that all the time. I hear people knocking these commissioners. They're a great bunch of guys. I think you people are good sometimes. Sometimes I don't. And the ones that coordinated that, I think, was the Women League of Voters. They've done a pretty good job, I thought. I don't like to see politics get mixed up in town boards or stuff like that. It shouldn't be that, but they were good. The only thing, they didn't bring no cookies over there. They usually feed pretty good. I'm not going to stay here all day. I just want to say, one other thing. I was going to say it on economics. One thing you people are missing out on, I think you heard me say it over there, you just was talking about economics. There's 36,000 people in this town, we'll say, and 60% of them are senior citizens. We keep this town rolling. We pay for things. What do we got? We haven't even got a decent senior center up there. This town could be like Palm Springs there if it was done right. What do? You kick us around like a bunch of dogs, brutalizing us. That's true.
Mr. Stevens, actually, the plans and property has been approved to build a new senior center over where the donut shop is on Wilson.
I'm glad, you're right, I seen that, and I should have said something about that. They finally got around to it, so I can't squawk about that anymore, but I'll find something else, I'm sure of that. There's something else I wanted to say. Take that serious about these people, these old people around here. They're paying your bills. They're putting your town on the map here. And we like to get and say something once in a while. I made a little spiel over there. It was all negative. I done that just for the heck of it. But I really could have opened up stuff there. I could have got big humbug going there, believe me. But get along with them commissioners. I like them all. One of them I don't care too much, but that's all right. But they're good, huh?
She scares you.
No, yeah, oh, I'm scared of that one, boy. You better believe it. That's the only person I'm scared of in this whole state. She come up and nailed me on that too. Jesus, I couldn't lie my way out of that mess. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Bill Dolan, taxpayer, landowner, resident. Wanted to address something that was in the town manager's report. B10, IAFF negotiations are scheduled for fiscal year 2012. We've been saying a lot in this community about people in the community being involved. I, for one, think the fire department has been overran for too long for this community. And I think there needs to be 2 members of the public on that negotiation team. They should have negotiating experience, fire experience, and no ties to the town, the department, or the union. Throwing that out there, hopefully you guys will pick up on that. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the bill draft request, Senate Bill 155 that Mr. Culkin came to the last town board about and presented, and it went up to Senator McGinnis, and he agreed to work it, and it was recently lost. Why was it lost? Nye County went after it. Nye County's lobbyists went after it. Assemblyman Goodhart went after it. Clark County went after it. What did this board do to fight for it other than to attend one teleconference meeting in Las Vegas? How many of you folks were up there in the halls of the legislature fighting for that bill? None of yous. Not one of yous went up there. Not one of yous lobbied for it.
Actually, I have to correct you on that. Mr. Kohlberger and I went up there, and we met with Mr. McGinnis. We met with Senator Lee. We met with a couple of different people, and we discussed that bill.
Okay? How many times?
I've only gone up there once this year.
Okay? It's not how you get a bill passed. You stay on the legislature, you stay on the Senate, you work the bill. You either hire a lobbyist and you also stay involved. 90% of your job is networking and lobbying for this town. You had a good chance and you blew it. Now the county still controls planning. So are we going to get businesses in here? No. And to answer what Ms. Parker didn't say on the record before, Texas has tort reform. That's why Texas is growing.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree that we could have tried more, but I'm also a realist, and I know how politics works, and Nye County has a lot more influence than us, and we would have not got that through. The question is, why did Nye County fight us? That's the question.
In Clark County.
And, well, Nye County brought Clark County into it. I had no information about that quite some time ago.
Robin Lloyd, LLOYD. I got a couple of things. First of all, I was just wondering who puts the order of things on these agendas, because typically and traditionally when when any board has an agenda, they address old news or old issues, old business first, and then new business next. And what I've seen every time, well, for instance, poor Bill Garlow, every time he's on this agenda, he's practically the very last issue on the agenda. Just like tonight, the only thing past his issue is the typical ending of the meetings, you know, the town board, the town manager report, so on. So I don't understand why all of the new issues always come up before the old business. Everybody that's here to talk on the old business that they've been here and discussed prior have to wait till the end of the meeting. And you guys know these meetings are going till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning now. So, you know, it would just be nice if you could address old business first and then get to the new business. I'd like to see that. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, a few weeks back, several weeks back, you voted to not renew the town manager's contract. I was just wondering what has been done since then, if anything, to look into finding a new and competent replacement for that position. I know several people got up and spoke that night about being interested in that position or knowing other people that are. So I haven't heard anything about it. I was just wondering if anything was being done, or if you're just going to wait and
Actually,
just
yes,
let it.
we have been working on it.
Good, good.
Mr. Chairman,
Would
if
you
I
like
may?
to share?
There'll be an item on the next agenda.
Okay. Can you share anything with us other than that?
It'll be to offer Mr. Kohlbarger a contract or go out. And I would suggest that if the public wants to go out and has something about Mr. Kohlbarger, I have spent a lot of time talking to people, and quite frankly, I have not heard a valid reason that Mr. Kohlbarger should not continue. So just keep that in mind.
I'd like to have a discussion with you about that.
I've discussed it with a lot of people. and,
Okay, well,
you know, and
let's
that
make an appointment.
They all
I'd
have
like to
reasons,
discuss
but
it
they're
with
not
you
really
personally.
valid ones. Anyway, we'll discuss it.
I've
in
got
the
a
next-
long list, Harley, and I've got proof to back up everything I have to say.
Okay.
It's
well,
all matter of record, as a matter of fact, so. Okay, well, I was just wondering if you've done anything to look for a replacement, so obviously you haven't. You're just considering giving him a new contract?
No, all of it will be considered at the next meeting.
Has there been any kind of advertising for,
No, because we have to make a decision about it.
you have to make the decision first and then you're gonna,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Because
everything
we've
is
got
on-
1 month left.
Everything's
just
on the
about.
table on the next item.
Mr.
On the
Darby?
next meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Darby,
good.
this is going to be on the next agenda. They shouldn't be talking about it, sir.
Well, I
That's
just
true.
wondered what you'd done.
Mr. Chairman, this is public comments. No debate is going on here. If the town board members want to speak on something that these, good citizens have to say, make a note of it, and at the end of the public comment, then they can give them their comment. Right now, we're going back and forth. This is what killing the time. This is what takes us to 12.
I just had the question to ask and I've gotten my answer, so thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, when I sat out there,
Comments?
when I sat out there
Comments,
and
please.
a person asked a question.
Mr. Harley, please, hold your comments. Thank you, Ms. Lloyd.
Hi there, my name is Eric Vasella. Nye County has implemented numerous impact taxes and excessive laws that dictate development in Pahrump. The rural township of Pahrump and its citizens have been impacted negatively by Nye County's selective enforcement of these laws. For example, public records show that Joe's Sanitation, Inc. was required to add lighting, landscaping, wheel stops, handicap parking, pedestrian access, dumpster enclosures, and a paved parking lot located at 1620 East Mesquite Road. For some reason, Nye County issued a final certificate of occupancy even though the construction was never completed. Now, the new owner and his small business are responsible for the code violations and $100,000 in improvements. Is that called fraud? For years, Tom Saida's customers and employees have parked their cars on parcel number 038-23106. This is a dirt parking lot located next door to Tomasino's restaurant. For some reason, he was not required to add pavement, landscaping, lighting, wheel stops, handicap parking, pedestrian access, or any other improvements at all. Furthermore, when people filed valid code compliance complaints, they are quickly dismissed. Why is it so difficult to get laws enforced on some people in Nye County? When county commissioners created the Pahrump Regional Planning District, they agreed to add crosswalks and bicycle lanes in a timely, orderly, and efficient manner. When Blagg Road was replaced, Nye County did not conform to the new development standards required by the RPC. Nye County was not required to add bicycle lanes or pedestrian crosswalks on Wilson Road or Lola Road either. Corrections Corporation of America was not required to add turn lanes onto Mesquite Road, or bicycle lanes, or walking paths, or pedestrian crosswalks. In conclusion, it's easy to see that selective law enforcement does have a negative impact on our rural township. How many more years will our children have to wait before they can cross the street legally using a crosswalk? Is there anything the town board can do to get these improvements that are owed to our community? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Louis DeCanio. I've been a resident of Pahrump for a little over 8 years now. And I've been to a lot of meetings. I've talked to the commissioners, the town board and everything. I've been a businessman. I've owned business. I've been a construction worker. I've done things with investments. I've owned properties, stocks. I've done a lot of things. From what I see, we do not need more consultants, more people looking at all of our problems. The big problem in Pahrump and Nye County is economics. Believe me, I do not, think that, I believe that everybody should be able to earn a livable wage. At the present time, in our community here, the only people that are making a livable wage are being paid with the tax dollar. These are the highest priced people in our community. We've got to provide jobs for people to earn a living, to feed their kids, pay their mortgages. Nothing's being done. But yet, everybody who's getting paid with the tax dollar, they keep getting their check. They're driving fancy cars, they're eating at fancy restaurants, while some people are living in their cars and trying to feed their kids out of a can and stuff. Now, all I want you to do is bring some jobs and opportunity here. How do you do that, okay? Very simple. You eliminate the bureaucracy. It's a mess, okay? If you got connections, there is no bureaucracy. If you don't have connections, it's a nightmare. Eliminate the impact fees. And another thing, you got Fortune 500 companies, send a letter to them. Pahrump is open for business. We'll streamline the process. We'll make it profitable for you to come to our town, create a lot of jobs. This way our town, our community, our county, our people can all prosper. And believe me, I'm not knocking people that make big bucks, but give us all an opportunity. Bring jobs here. And the only way to do that is to streamline the process, not create a gauntlet for everybody who comes into this town. The only people that can do anything in this town are people that have a connection. And that goes all the way down from the legal system all the way down to opening up a business, okay? Make things fair, make things open, bring jobs, help our economy, and you'll help everybody in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Bob Irving. I've got a couple questions here. First of all, here when you first took office, and I think it was in January or February when this was brought up about the 10-day period for the commissioners or for people to get an article in for the backup for the agendas. I've been looking at and I've seen it last time too. I don't see too many any of the town board members putting anything in, so I got Mr. Kobager's name on it. Why is that? I mean, there's not even a reference there that you put the thing in. Is he writing all of the agenda items now and nobody's approving them? Because it gives me the impression that he's making up the agenda items and you don't know what's on there. Because there's nobody there saying that they're supporting it or that they went and looked out, that took the 10 days that was required to go out there and find out what was going on. It doesn't show anything that you guys are actually doing any work. It shows that he's giving you the agenda items that he wants you to consider, evidently. And the other thing is that Mrs. Anderson, tonight when you read that article, the thing at the first meeting there, that was something that was done in the last town board meeting and last town board. And my only answer to that is, and I hate to say this, but it's an old cliche, if you can't take the heat, get out of the fire. And I know that I'm sorry for what I got a little bit hostile last time, but the thing about it is that I think it's frustration more than anything else. And also, one of the people that was up here talking earlier made a judgment against the board for not going up and doing a job. I would say like it was almost like the pot calling the kettle black, because all they did on the last town board was argue about among each other and try to get people that were on the board in trouble with the ethics people. So you're doing a fine job, so don't worry about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don Cox. I just want to let you know I agree with Louis DeCanio. Everything he said is right. Can somebody tell me that's economic development that he just said? And if it is, we're paying a man for economic development. Why isn't he doing this? Why isn't this man doing what Louis just said? That's economics. I don't see anything happening in Pahrump as far as economic development goes. I don't see jobs coming. I don't see nothing but die.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to answer that.
Please hold your comments till after public comment. It's not debate, as it's been
But it's not
pointed
a
out.
debate, Mr. Chairman. It's communication. I believe communication with the public is very important. I spent many years sitting over there, and when I sat there and asked questions and I got a bunch of blank stares, I felt like I might have been talking to the wall. I think it's important. I don't mind waiting till the person's done, but he inquired as to why Mr. Balakwi, he thinks, isn't doing anything. Well, I know for a fact Mr. Balakwi is doing something. And we've been talking over and over that our problem is the county won't let anything move forward. Well, that seems to be the answer to me, but people don't seem to understand it. The town is trying to move forward, but the county won't let us.
Okay, question asked, question answered. Thank you. Ms. Cox.
Yeah, Donna Cox. I'd like to speak a little bit on the town manager's contract. I believe at one of these meetings not too long ago, he voted not to renew his contract, so therefore there'll be a new contract. At this point, due to the amount of the contract, I don't believe you can just offer him a choice of whether he wants it or doesn't. I think legally you have to go out to bid, and it has to be
Darby?
advertised all over the country.
Mr. Darby?
It's already been stated that this will be an agenda item at the next meeting.
I understand that. I'm just offering you some advice. But I've been through this procedure before, and I don't want you to get in trouble for not advertising. You need to advertising and make sure it's open to everybody, and everybody has a fair chance that just because Mr. Kohlbarger's been here, he doesn't get, you know. And the other thing was, I read something in one of the agendas a little bit back that the attorney had given a 30-day notice. So does that mean you will be replacing the attorney too? And have you also considered putting that out to bid? You can answer me at the proper time. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Art Jones again, resident of Pahrump, and an Army military veteran. We had the 5th year anniversary for the Veteran Service Officers down in the Nugget today. It was a wonderful ceremony, beautiful ceremony. But I missed a whole lot of faces I did not see. The only face I saw that I recognized was Mr. Waters there. Now, us veterans put a lot of money in this town. And we couldn't have got the money if it wasn't for our service officers that helped us get the money. I realize that some of you guys is working, some of you guys got your own business, that you could contract somebody out for that day to participate at our 5th year anniversary. You missed a wonderful thing. So much for that. I've been in Pahrump since June 15th, 1992. I started coming to town board meetings in 1993. Now you do the math. Out of all the time that I've been coming to town board meeting, I haven't missed approximately 7 meetings. If I miss 7 meetings, that's twice a month. If I miss 7 meetings, I'm pushing it. I'm here at every town board meeting. I never heard, as so many people, certain folks up on that board love to hear themselves talk. and they just keep repeating, repeating, repeating. I never got out of a meeting before until now at 12:30 or 1 o'clock. Never had I gotten out of a meeting before. Before, the meeting would be over with between 10:15 or 10:30, and I think every one of you could witness to me on that. For some kind of reason, we have to sit up here and argue among ourselves and rap and talk and don't mean a hill of beans what you say. When I leave here in the evening, at night, in the morning, I'm confused. I am completely confused. I asked my wife, what took place? What took place? Huh? I don't know. Weren't you there? Yeah, I was here. I haven't saw this board yet pass two important minutes on the board. Something wrong somewhere. Something is big time wrong. If we can't get together on this board before 12:30 at night, you have to take a recess, come back the next morning. Thank you.
Bruce Colley, habitual. I want to discuss minutes of the meetings. We got March 8 minutes of the meetings today. That's 7 weeks from March 8th meeting. I can't remember things 7 hours, none less 7 weeks. How do you expect me to nitpick you to death reading the minutes when they're 7 weeks old? Can we get something done about this? Also, since day one, first of the year, the new board took seat, we've been asking to get the public comment after each item to show the pro and cons, to give you a reflection of how the people feel and whether or not you're representing them. And all we're still getting is public comment was heard. Mrs. Endersby brought it up once, Dr. Waters brought it up a couple times, and I've been up here nagging about it myself. It's still not getting done. Okay. My little Robert's Rules order here, number 151, says you must make the minutes available for inspection by the members at reasonable times and places. Reasonable definition in Webster's is in accordance with reason, not an extreme or excessive request, moderate or fair. If we could get the minutes like in 2 weeks after the meeting, like we used to get all the time, I think people would appreciate it that follow the goings on and stuff. We haven't heard anything about this last March 8th meeting. Williams' contract was discussed, and Harley said that he was going to bring it open for public information and whatnot, and let them have their say, and that's the last we heard of it. And also, Mr. Armstrong was on that same meeting, and we haven't heard anything about that either. So, if we could get something in a little quicker time, it would be nice. Disrupting a meeting, you already have NRS 203.090 into the town board policy, which put in the first of the year. I thought that was intimidating enough, disturbing a meeting. Every person who without authority of law willfully disturbs assembly or meeting not unlawful in its character shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. Well, isn't that nice? Okay, so I guess that's about all I have to say. I know Mr. Jones has to get home. Thank you.
John Muntean, Muntean. You're welcome. Citizens, all of us here, Pahrump as a town is our responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of the town board, although they seem to have more authority. I noticed walking through various businesses in town, from Walmart to Smith's to Albertsons and on down the line, people are isolated. I'll look at an individual and eyes will usually dart away. And in the past, I've been guilty of it myself. There's quite a few open seats in this room. And although the necessity of this town board is in question, or has been, it's an opportunity for individuals to get together and discuss and hear others' opinions about the town of Pahrump. I think it's our responsibility to get out and have those small talk conversations pertaining to the town, the country. It falls upon us. And I think it's time to take a start and get out of our shells. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else for public comment, you had a comment you wish to make, Mr. Culkin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to answer some of the questions and comment on them. The attorney's position is they did not give us 30 days notice, and yes, we are still negotiating. Some of us met with the attorneys this week, and we received an offer, and I assume that'll be put on the agenda to consider. To address some of Mr. Jones's concerns, I believe that the one issue is some of us have a work or have a business, whatever is directed at me. I am the business. And by contracting out to someone else, do you mean I should call one of my competitors and ask them to do my work for me? I don't think that would work. I am a veteran myself, and I certainly appreciate that, but providing for my family has to come first. I have no one else to call. And the reason why I work for myself is because it's hard to find somebody that's competent in my field. And the last person I had moved back to Louisiana, and I'm still looking for a competent person. I wouldn't want to send somebody to your house that couldn't do the job right. Too much talk is kind of interesting. You know, if we speed things up, then everybody says, we already made up our mind and everything. They made up their mind before they ever got here. And then if we sit here and we discuss it, trying to make a decision, clearly we haven't discussed it and made up our minds, then we're taking too long. Well, I've said before to the past boards and so on, if you don't have the time, don't run for office. And if you don't have the time, just spend the amount of time you got here. We're trying to do the right job for you. And we want to take the time and we're all trying to make just decisions here. As far as the minutes go, there was a question why it was taking so long. One of the staff was gone for a while. And so they'll get back on track. Thank you.
I have a comment too.
Ms. Parker?
It has been mentioned several times tonight about impact fees, how difficult it is to get through planning. Believe me, this board is well aware of that, but these are county issues, and you need to take your concerns to the commissioners' meetings because they need to hear them even more than we do, because other than us speaking to commissioners one-on-one, which you also can do, we have no more influence than you do. So when you have concerns about impact fees, about getting through planning, it's not that I don't want to hear you, because I'll be glad to listen, but we're not the right place to come if you're seeking a resolution to the problem, because we have no say. So I hope that you all will take your concerns to the commissioners, because they need to hear this more than we do. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, along with that, Mrs. Parker, I support that statement and recommend and encourage people to come tomorrow at 2 o'clock here in the chamber office. The master plan revision, the Pahrump Valley master plan revision, is now in process. It's an open meeting. It's a place where you can bring your thoughts, your concerns, your issues, and talk about them to a committee that is working on the revision of the master plan that was put into place 5-7 years ago that needs updating. This is your time to speak up and do that tomorrow, 2 o'clock.
Mr. Waters.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think I can speak for the entire town board when I say that we would like to get out of here a lot earlier as well. But one of the things that we cannot do is talk about agenda items, even though we have them in front of us with each other. The only time we can talk is when we're here. And when we disagree with something, it's not that we're fighting, we're trying to understand how the other person feels, so we've got to hear what they've got to say. That's what takes the time, because there are a lot of issues very important issues that I know you want us to handle. We can't handle them outside of this forum. It has to be done here. That's the only time we get to talk to each other legally. If we talk to each other outside of this forum, then we're up for violating the open meeting law. We don't want to go to jail. We don't want an ethics violation or anything else against this. We have to talk here. Thank you.
And with that, we'll move on to item number 5, advisory board reports. Anything from the board on advisory boards? Any liaison reports?
Mr. Chairman, Public Lands had a special meeting yesterday, and because there's an item on the agenda and that'll be discussed, I don't want to get into what they said, but I would like to publicly thank Mr. Hackley. He did quite a lot of research and put some information together to help the Public Lands Board make a decision yesterday, and that's that kind of dedicated effort that we need to see a lot more of around here. Thank you.
Anything else from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Incorporation Advisory Board, they're working on looking at the pros and cons of forming a charter and the pros and cons on looking at the financing and what the impact of the financial aspects of incorporation or non-incorporation would be. Welcome anybody to participate in that process.
Thank you. Mr. Kohlbarger.
Thank you, Mr. Darby. I'd like to thank the Pahrump Nuclear Waste and Environmental Advisory Board for putting on a very nice Earth Day celebration on Saturday. I attended it for roughly 2.5, 3 hours. I'd also like to thank John for babysitting for those 2.5, 3 hours because he taught my son all about wells, pollution, and how to defeat it. And my son was very interested in it and continued on with it and actually came home and sat down with Mommy and started recycling everything that was in the house. So thank you, John. I appreciate that. And thank you to the Nuclear Waste and Environmental Board. You guys did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not good with compliments, so you threw me. For the gentleman that was here prior to me, I just briefly.
State your name.
John Pollock.
Thank you.
And Bob, the tomato plant. I have issues when I go around the town, I go to different stores. I have issues that I'd like to get to the store and just go home right away, but I usually spend about an hour out of my day talking to people. And I don't have a problem with not connecting with people. I have friends in the town, and that goes both ways too. And it's a very friendly town, and it's I enjoy it, and I enjoy the people, and I talk to everybody I see, and hopefully they enjoy seeing me also. So I don't have any problem with people with their eyes going down or anything, unless they're stealing something at Walmart, you know. But anyway, what I'm here for is to thank everybody for coming to the Earth Day event. And I also am here basically to speak about an upcoming event, which is the town cleanup, our 11th annual town cleanup. And you will see these posters all around the town. They're also on the town webpage. Thank you very much for putting it up there. As you see in the poster, the slogan of the poster is circulated around the town state, be part of the solution, not the pollution. The Nuclear Waste and Environmental Advisory Board is gearing up to coordinate the 11th annual town cleanup at the Calvada Eye. We, the board members, will be in front of the duck pond beginning at 6:30 in the morning for all the teams and individuals to check in. It's very important for everyone that wishes to be involved in the Pahrump town cleanup to call ahead of time for a scheduled area. This will help the committee organize all the areas so there is not an overload of volunteers in certain sections. We encourage everyone to clean up their homes and yards the week prior to May 7th, which is the date of the cleanup. Instead of hauling large items up to the dump, they can find the closest dumpsters that we have there so they can clean up our community. There'll be 4 dumpster drop-off areas, and they are on the posters. They're listed on the posters and are seen on the webpage if you want to look at it there. We hope that this event instills a sense of respect, pride, and appreciation for the town and its appearance for ourselves and the many vacationing visitors who pass through here throughout the year. Don't let me forget the Pahrump Valley Disposal is going to be donating their dumpsters for large item disposals, and their trucks and their operators will be picking up the bagged trash throughout the valley and alongside the road for the event also. So Pahrump Valley Disposal is a very big part of this event. We'd like to thank in advance the town of Pahrump for the appreciation for the town and its appearance for ourselves, and the many vacation visitors who pass through here throughout the year. We wish, I said that right, sorry. I'm getting tired. I lost my committee chair. He had to leave already because he had to grade paper, so it's just Bob and myself. We wish to thank the town of Pahrump in advance for sponsoring this event and the many volunteers who participate in this worthwhile endeavor. This year we have donated to us commemorative Earth Day and town cleanup T-shirts. And these shirts will be given out to the group collecting the most trash in their areas. So these wonderful T-shirts, they commemorate not only the Earth Day event, but the town cleanup. And it's the first time that here you go. We have all different sizes for all the different size people. We have them beautifully done. We really appreciate those. We hope the town board can now support this, can show support for this event by participating as our boards have done in the past years. We'd like to thank you and remember to sign up for the cleanup by calling the Chamber of Commerce office at 727-5800. So once again, these are up all over the town. Please don't wait too long. Call the Chamber of Commerce at 727-5800. This was started by Patricia Cox, who's a former commissioner. She was involved with many things, a business lady in the area. She's also on the Chamber of Commerce, and we're carrying on from where she left off. So we appreciate whatever you can do to help clean up the town, and God knows we need it. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and matter of fact, I will be out there picking up those roll-off boxes and delivering empty ones.
All right, Bob and I thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mr. Calkin.
How come this is always on Mother's Day weekend? You know, some people.
It's not on Mother's Day weekend.
Mother's Day weekend's the 8th. Mother's Day's the 8th, and then you have it on the 7th, and people, you know, sometimes they leave the area.
Like I said, it's not always on Mother's Day weekend. I had it connected with the Earth Day event for a while. Patricia wanted it separate. She wanted it at a more warmer time of the year, more stable. Mother's Day is very stable, but that's why we separated from the Earth Day event. Many things happen on different weekends. This past weekend, we had the Earth Day event scheduled. Last year it was all by itself, and all of a sudden, by the time Earth Day comes along that weekend, there's 3 or 4 other things that are scheduled. So we just have to grab it when we can, when we think the weather is good and we can get a good turnout. So just by chance sometimes. So.
Mr. Chairman, John, what time should people meet at the?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
You'll be done by 12 o'clock. We have a sign-off sheet. It's a little bit longer this year. NDOT gave us a couple more pages to sign off on, but that's government, right? Okay. But we have to sign off on that because we're on State Road 160 and 372, so we have to follow the rules. We have to be safe because those are state highways, and we have to respect the state because there have been a lot of accidents from people on the road. Not necessarily us on the road, but people driving off the road and hitting us. That's it? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Bob and I thank you.
Any other chairs or liaisons or any other advisory board reports?
TV star.
Well, they know Bob is a TV star. It says it's as seen on TV here. He was on Channel 41 twice already.
All right.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, Vicki.
How do you know it's male? You named the Bob, how do...
Not at 9:30. I don't have a good answer for that. He has two girlfriends I just bought yesterday from Star Nursery. I'm taking too much time. 2 pepper plants, one red and one green. Okay, those are girls.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item number 6, the Town of Pahrump Economic Development Report.
Yeah, Mr. Darby, if I may?
Please.
Mr. Balakwe, myself, and a county rep visited with a company today for approximately 2 hours. It was a nice visit. We're trying to sell that company to move to the town of Pahrump. We'll be meeting with their real estate individual next week to take them around and show them some sites. We are trying to bring jobs in the community. The county is assisting with us on this process. And any questions for what the report has?
Any questions from the board?
I'd like to comment on economic development because I got 2 calls, one yesterday and one today, about a gentleman who's all excited about Pahrump, wants to start a business here. Unfortunately, it's a hookah lounge. You know, the water pipes?
Hookah. Hookah. Yeah, hookah.
Hookah lounge.
Just what we need.
Mr. Chairman? I appreciate Mr. Balakwe coming up. I do have a few questions on the business license. The new business license issued, and without that process of looking at that, we really don't know as a community and as a town where we're at. But I can see that we have, for the first quarter, increased from 2007 our new business license issued. So that is certainly a good indication for the community. And the also, it looks like there have been fewer requests for license packets. So again, with that information, I'm wondering how we can move forward in doing some more PR or increasing to attract businesses. And I know that all involves economic development and bringing in jobs, but this does give us an indication of where we're at and where we need to go and what we need to concentrate on. So thank you for the information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Balakwe.
I'd like the opportunity to expand on what Mr. Kohlbarger was saying. The company that we met with today, we met with after 8 months of meeting with him. I've met with him over a dozen times. They're an international company. They're from here to China, everything else. And we met with him, just not with Mr. Town, but the county, the state, and we had to coordinate all of that effort together. And you want to talk about herding cats to get everybody to agree. And they moved an appointment with someone flying in from Belgium to accommodate us. Because somebody doesn't hear something, it's usually because they don't ask. And when they don't ask, they just assume. I'm appealing because I have a real challenge when people could come up and make statements that are unfounded and you can't respond. Where I grew up, that's called a bully. A bully is when they could make things or say things or physically approach somebody when the person can't respond back. And that's okay. That may be just the business we're in. But what's worse is when you're really working hard and doing a lot of things and that takes place, and then the public is all out there listening and they don't know. So they think that bully is right. When the fact of the matter is, what has that bully done? Did they go and talk to somebody? Did they ask anybody? Has that person ever approached me and asked me a question? And have I ever denied talking to somebody? The other thing is that we also have another company flying in tomorrow morning. Spoke with him last Thursday and pressed him. We're talking about a world-class company that's flying in here to look at the sites here in Pahrump and wants to go ahead and do something. Then we have another company we're also seeing on Friday, okay, which is another world-class company on doing jobs. And those are only what's going on this week. So because they don't ask, and it's not that someone refuses them, you know what I mean, doesn't mean something's not going on. And you know, they could ask me. They could come and ask me, because my job is to report to Mr. Kohlbarger, not to them.
Actually, that meeting's on Thursday, not Friday. We're driving home on Friday.
We're going to meet with them in the morning and in the evening. We'll have two meetings on both times, again, do that. We also have a conference call with a company that's come here 3 times and is actually negotiating with another one. And on the 3rd of May, we have a conference call with them to see about setting up their operation here. Sum total. And you know, every 10, we may get 1 or 2. So I just mentioned 3. So that comes up to almost 40 different things that we're activating on and stuff that's going on. If somebody has a challenge, they need to come and ask the person that can answer the question instead of just assuming that nothing's going on. Because when the press gets the information and they report things that's said inaccurately because nobody corrects them, these companies, every one of these, will read this paper and they will look at what's going on. And when they see derogative and negative things going on in the company, in the community, they will not come. They will not come. We have lost more companies because of misinformation and ignorance than we have because of a lack of impact fees and a lack of infrastructure. Case closed. I document that and I show you that all day long. And if we really want to turn this thing around, we got to extend common courtesy. And if we're curious enough, volunteer to help and ask instead of just assuming. Because you know what the word assume means. Makes an ass out of you and me both. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 8. Discussion possible decision to approve a proclamation for the benevolent and protective order of the Elks declaring the first week of May as Youth Week to honor Americans' junior citizens for their accomplishments and to give fitting recognition of their community, state, and nation.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve a proclamation for the benevolent and protective order of Elks declaring the first week of May as Youth Week to honor America's junior citizens for their accomplishments and to give fitting recognition of their community, state, and nation.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank the Elks. They have worked very hard. They do a lot for the youth and the community, and this is only one part of some positive activities that they do. I work with Mr. I forgot his name. But he is the head of the Elks, and he's working very hard with the, whoops, oh, can we call a recess?
He's okay. He just stumbled a little.
And I appreciate the Elks and their efforts. Thank you.
Mr. Kohlbarger.
I believe the clerks should read the proclamation, that's correct?
I have it here. Oh, the other one? The correct one. By virtue of the authority given to the Pahrump Town Board by the laws of the County of Nye and by the State of Nevada, whereas the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks has designated the first week in May as Youth Week to honor America's junior citizens for their accomplishments and to give fitting recognition of their services to community, state, and nations. And whereas Pahrump Elks Lodge number 2796 will sponsor an observance during that week in tribute to the junior citizens of this community, and whereas no event could be more deserving of our support and participation than one dedicated to these young people who represent the nation's greatest resource and who, in the years ahead, will assume the responsibility for the advancement of our free society. And whereas our youth need the guidance, inspiration, and encouragement which we alone can give in order to help develop those qualities of character essential for future leadership and go forth to serve America. And whereas to achieve this worthy objective, we should demonstrate our partnership with youth, our understanding of their hopes and aspirations, and a sincere willingness to help prepare them in every way for the responsibilities and opportunities of citizenship. Now, therefore, we, the town board of the town of Pahrump, have met on April 26, 2011, do hereby proclaim the first week in May 2011 as Youth Week, and urge all departments of government, civic, fraternal, and patriotic groups, and our citizens generally, to participate wholeheartedly in its observance. Dated this 26th day of April 2011. And Mr. Berg does regret he can't be here, but he is at the memorial for our fallen police officer, Ian Deutsch.
And I do believe we have a motion and a second, so we'll take a vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I take at the same time a moment just to recognize the town staff and the town board through the Project 5,000 Kids, and they have given this to the town and the town staff for hosting 14 youth through our various departments, and thank the department personnel for their willingness to have those 14 youth shadow them throughout a day in February. And by the way, our Southern Nevada came in first for having the most students enrolled representing Nye, Lincoln, and Clark County in this Job Shadow Day. So our youth are very active and involved. Thank you. Mr. Kobarger did coordinate the students that came.
Alrighty, that brings us to item number 9, discussion possible decision to approve one of the following 3 options pertaining to the next step on the Last Chance Park development. Option 1, proceeding with mitigation of location number 1, Bella Vista at Banovich, not to exceed $10,000. Or option 2, to start the process to investigate location number 2, Banovich and Simpkin Road. And location 3, State Route 160, or option 3, discontinue the entire project.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve option 1, proceed with the mitigation of location number 1, Bella Vista and Banovich, not to exceed $10,000.
We have additional information that you didn't stay for long enough. So I really would like to hear from Mr. Adams.
Yeah, could you withdraw your motion and then hear from Mr. Adams first?
We have a presenter.
If we're going to have a presentation, I'll withdraw my motion until after the presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Adams?
PLAB recommends that we challenge the mitigation requirement. We've done a lot of research on it. We've contacted the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. It's an independent federal agency. We've been in contact with the State Historic Preservation Office. We've actually read the National Historic Preservation Act with emphasis on Section 106. Having done this, we feel that the BLM is overstepping the intent of the law. These findings can be challenged. We recommend that we initiate a challenge. By initiating a challenge, what they've done so far will be reviewed by the agencies mentioned above, and in addition to that, by the Tribal Historic Preservation Office. Consultants can also take part in the review. Local governments are on the list of agencies or whatever entities that can be approved as consultants. We recommend that the town petition the BLM to be included as consultants.
So what I'm getting from what you're presenting is you possibly are asking us to table making a decision on this and actually go move forward with a challenge?
I think we'd have to have another motion to go ahead with the challenge.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Mr. Darby?
So that would mean to table this item and then come back with a motion to... Mr. Colbar.
You know, you have three options listed here, and if you're going to do that, you want to challenge that, you can approve option one and proceed with the mitigation at location number one, Bell Vista and Banovich, not to exceed 10,000, and to investigate, because you're listing it. If you want to make a separate motion, it's not listed, and you need to table the whole item and bring it back at yet another meeting.
That was my understanding.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I have a question. Could a motion be made to accept this piece of property as the designated site? And then because you're saying that it mentions the $10,000, but we could direct staff not to spend it yet, and then direct Public Lands Advisory Board to move forward with the attempt to negate the mitigation.
Actually, sir, that would have staff move forward, and the PLAB, two members of the PLAB will be included in that, and I would respectfully request it be Mr. Adams and Mr. Hackley, along with staff, and forming a team to do that. But again, I would recommend, if you're going to do that, go ahead and approve option number one along with appealing at the same time.
Okay.
Starts the process rolling. Or you have to table it and bring it back in 2 weeks for yet a different motion.
Okay, well, we need to get this moving, so I will make a motion to accept the Bell Vista property and not to exceed $10,000 to enter into the mitigation, but also direct staff to work with Mr. Adams and Mr. Hackley in an effort to negate the mitigation.
Second.
Mr. Chair, is the correct verbiage negate the mitigation or challenge? I heard
Challenge.
Mr. Evans say challenge.
Challenge.
Can you amend that to
Change my negate to challenge.
I seconded it. As amended.
Can I have that restated, please?
Yes, to accept the Bell Vista property and not to exceed $10,000, and also to direct staff to move forward with challenging the mitigation and include Mr. Adams and Mr. Hackley from the Public Lands Advisory Board in that effort.
Good job.
I'm sorry it's taken me so long. I had a bad day at the doctor's office and my arm doesn't want to work.
I'm going to slap it once or twice.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I
Darby,
just have
if I
one
may.
question on that.
Mr. Dart,
Yes, Mr. Kohlberger?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on Dr. Waters.
I have a question for the attorney, just to be sure that we're on legal ground. Since it was on the agenda at the last meeting, the change in the change in the motion, is that enough to allow Mr. Culkin to make the motion?
Well, I hope.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Dr. Waters. No, since it was tabled, it was properly brought back under the open meeting law as a new agenda item, and the board is free to take whatever action it deems necessary.
And the actual motion should
It was
be.
not, it was not tabled. It was not tabled at the last meeting. It was voted on.
Yeah, it was actually voted down 3-2.
Mr. Chairman, what was the motion that was made last time?
Exact same, well, the
It
same
was.
motion without the appealing.
It was tabled.
No, it
No,
was,
it
it
died.
was 3-2. They voted against it, but we could, but it's back.
I just want to ensure we're on legal ground.
I think the motion, I mean, from the discussion tonight, the proposed action is different from the proposed action last time.
Slightly different.
It's slightly different. I think the motion can stand.
Okay. Because if it wasn't, then I would make the motion exactly as he did. So,
Yeah, that's right. Dr. Waters voted in the positive, and he was allowed to bring it back, and he brought it back. As at the bottom, you can see. Thank you. That's right.
I believe that also clears up some of the questions about the sponsorship name. If Dr. Waters brought it back, I would prefer to see his name there instead of yours.
Well, actually, the name of the presenter of the items is the town board. That's who brought it to the agenda. I just sponsored the town board bringing it to. But in the future, we can add Dr. Waters' name to the bottom, and he can sign it.
This item did give me a lot of grief, cause me to spend quite a few hours researching Robert's Rules of Order because of a previous issue last year. If you remember that, and it was brought to my attention that you had to be on the winning side. Well, without his name on it, it did not look like there was a sponsor or presenter that was on that side, so I basically wasted 3 days researching this. Thank you. The motion
call
is
next time,
to
Mr.
Except Belvista side.
Motion is to accept Banovich, Belvista and Banovich, not to exceed $10,000, and to move forward with the challenge, and approve Mr. Hackley and Mr. Adams to that committee. We had Mr. Culkin made the motion, and
I second
Ms.
it.
Parker seconded. Any further discussion from the board? Any public comment?
Yes, I would like to say, having been at the PLAB meeting last night, the amount of research that these gentlemen did in the past week to try to keep the town from having to pay that $10,000 was invaluable. They brought in stacks of research like this, and I really would like to commend them because this is the type of things that citizens need to do to help the town, and when they do that, we all need to give them a hand for the amount of work that they did to save us $10,000. I'm done.
Any public comment?
George Gingell. I'm a member of PLAB, but I just want to state that the BLM is our caretakers of our land. So why are we letting the caretakers boss us around when we are the bosses? It doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know. Let somebody else answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Richard Arnold. I'm Southern Paiute from Pahrump here. I, along with all the other Southern Paiute people in this room, are the descendants of people that have been in this valley since the beginning of time. We have several issues I think that we want to raise with respect to the information that was provided by way of background. I have dealt probably since the inception of the Archaeological Resources Protection Act that was cited under Section 106. I've dealt with that numerous times. Work with various federal agencies, act as a conduit between the tribes and the federal agencies in trying to remedy situations. However, in looking at what you're trying to forego with the mitigation of the $10,000, because the land is federal land, you're going to have to do mitigation. There's no way around it. You can challenge it, yes. You're going to get denied a challenge. You'll have to do that, and then you're going to open up the doors for a lot of different issues. Perhaps one of the issues in question for the particular site that you're looking at, there's known archaeological sites there that are eligible under Section 106 that will that will require mitigation, that will require additional fence, which would potentially bring in issues of NAGPR, the Native American Graves Protection Repatriation Act of 1990. Then tribes will have to be involved with the not only the mitigation but the monitoring, potential repatriation, and so there's going to have to be some give and take and costs that's going to have to be considered under that. Moreover, that you have to look at really the indirect effects to the park. There's going to be curation costs for anything that's going to be collected. Somebody's going to have to bear those costs, and most likely the federal government's going to come back to the town and say, you guys need to pay that cost. Beyond that, there's a whole variety of things. I think that one, you look at how the proposed park is going to disrupt the integrity of the town. You have to ask the question really of who is the park for? Is it for the locals or is it for visitors? If it's for the visitors, you really think people are going to go there versus other places? It's really unconscionable. Especially when you have places like Death Valley and Ash Meadows and other key places. Not to say that Pahrump isn't great. I mean, it's my home. It's where our people are from, and hence the namesake for the name of the town. You have to look at and consider how the proposed park is going to be maintained. Volunteers, and so would volunteers be cleaning the restrooms, taking care of the landscaping, the parking lot, et cetera? Lots of things to consider. I'd recommend seriously that the board postpone any action on the proposed park until such time as the information is complete, that all the anticipated costs are known, and that the board is able to make a more informed decision in the best interest of Pahrump. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Robin Lloyd again, LLOYD. I'm very concerned about this because 2 weeks ago, there was an issue brought up about a body that was found out there on that property and the bones. And there was comments made by Al Balaqui that they thought at first it was Native American, but no, it was not. It was nothing. And I think Harley also said that it was nothing at all. It wasn't a Native American. There's nothing to worry about. Well, the very next day on Channel 41-46 News, Deanna O'Donnell sat there on the television and said, they covered the story, the town board story, and then she said, you know, I remember that story. I covered it. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. A couple of teenagers came across the body parts, well, the bones, out there, and they called the authorities about it. She said the Metro from Las Vegas came down and took possession of the bones and was taken back to Las Vegas, to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV, to the, I believe, the archaeology department, where they determined that, yes, indeed, those bones did belong to a Native American, and that that was a sacred burial ground, and that they indeed, because of that fact, needed to return those bones back to the place where they were found. So they actually brought everything that they found back to that location. She said, I know right where it's at. It's between two rocks. And she gave detail about this. Now, how can she sit there and go into detail about this story that she covered 4 years ago, and about how it was determined by the Department of Archaeology at the UNLV that it was a Native American burial ground, so, to the point where they had to return the bones and the body to the exact location where they were discovered because of that fact. And you guys sat there the night before and told everyone that was listening on TV and in this room that no, they were not Native American bones. So now we don't know who to believe here. Once again, it seems like we're being lied to.
Excuse me just one moment. Is her comments interrupting with your conversation?
Exactly. I was wondering that myself.
I'm having trouble listening to her present when you two are talking.
Excuse me, Vicki. I had the floor. My time is not up. You were commenting the entire time I was making my comment.
Body was found in a different area. It wasn't found where we're intending.
Yeah, can we get proof of that? Because we've been lied to so many times, we don't believe anybody anymore, you know? It's like a matter of record now. It's just, it's a regular thing with us. We can't believe anything that we're told.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. We should be able to believe our elected officials, but we can't.
That's your choice.
No, it's not our choice, Vicki. It's a matter of fact. Deanna O'Donnell, I wish she was here tonight because she could sit here and testify. She covered the story. She went into detail.
Point of order, Chair.
Can I end this discussion, please? This is turning more into an argument and debate, and it's not public comment.
Okay, well, I would just like to say, in lieu of those facts, I would like to, at least to see you guys postpone this vote. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Tom Waters, Dr. Tom, asked for just a 2-week delay. That's all he was asking for, and he wasn't the only one. And you couldn't even go for that. So the motion was turned down. It was voted down 3-2 because of that. Now you're rushing into it again. And when you rush to judgment on things like that, mistakes get made. You need to look deeper into this. There's a lot of problems with this. I know you've been working on it 5 years, and you made the comment when it was turned down last week that, well, there it goes, up and thanks a lot, thanks for nothing. If you've been working on it for 5 years, then you should know the answer to these questions. Why did you tell us that the body that was found was not Native American?
I didn't tell you that.
Yeah, yes, you did.
We were told by 2 or 3 different people. I've got it on record. I've got it on disc. I can give you all copies if you need.
I'm going to have to declare time on this. Thank you very much, Ms. Lloyd.
All right, thank you.
Don Cox, we're good friends with a family out here, which are Paiutes. The name is Sharp, Imogene and her sister and brothers. They said those were Indian bones that were found. They know for a fact there was Indian bones that was found.
Just a minute. Ms. Parker, please.
And I just hope, if you guys go ahead and approve this mess, that the Paiutes in this valley brings a suit against you guys through the Indians' affairs, because this is ridiculous. These are our Native Americans we're talking about. If that's a burial ground and it's sacred, it should be kept sacred. This part does not mean to go in there and just tear that ground up just because an individual wants to see this park. For what reason, I have no idea. To me, this economy in this country is dead, and they're wanting to spend more money? What is going on? We're broke. Why are you spending the money? If that's Indian bones, it should be killed tonight. It should be stopped. And I believe it's Indian bones. Thank you.
Mr. Richards, please turn the microphone on, the little button down there. Just
Does that do it? Yeah,
That
there we
did
go. Yeah. People who are interested in hiking in the desert can find an awful lot of empty desert out there. Thousands of square miles of empty desert. And people who need a graded pathway to explore the desert really shouldn't be out there. I favor option number 4, drop the whole thing.
Thank you. Mr. Colley, before I take your time, Mr. Kohlberger, would you ask the conversation in the hall to go farther out, please?
Thank you, Mr. Darby. I was at the meeting last night also. The chairman of your advisory board did just tons of research, and he has got logical rules, and he's talked to people in the state about this situation. He can challenge the BLM for zero cost. This is not coming out of impact fees. This is coming out of the general fund. I believe that's correct. Mrs. Giampoli, which you gave $30,000 to take on this project and advised 2 or 3 different places that it was an archaeological site. She engaged a archaeologist, hard to get out. He confirmed it. The lithic scatter contains quite a few tools, hard features, and on and on. She advised not to go into this project because of circumspect approach, it being an archaeological site. I mean, on and on and on. Now you want to take $10,000 for what reason? I don't know. Let William take it out of his pay if he's so determined to do this. And let your advisory board chairman pursue his route for zero cost. What's the rush? It's been 6 years. You're going to just take this 10 grand, and do you know what you're going up against here? What agencies you're going up against? You got federal, you got state, you got BLM, you got National American Graves Registration. I mean, what do you think you're going to do? These people are not going to roll over, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. Mrs. Giampoli said town funds had not been needed or used for this project. Now you want to dump 10 grand into it. I don't know. I guess spend the money like it's coming out of your pocket. I stated earlier, we're $789,000 unbalanced budget or whatever. I give up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Colley, the funds do not come from general funds. It's the Park Impact Fees Fund. It's a specific set aside for park costs for developing of parks and maintenance.
During public comment, we should reserve ours until the end of.
Sorry.
Mr. Stevens.
Oh, thank you. My name is Dave Stevens. I'm okay. I fell down up there, but I'm all right now. I listened to this stuff. I was against this thing when it started. And this town board is too big a hurry to do anything. You got to research and get this over with. It takes 50 years. This Vicky up there, who I like, get mad at her all the time, but they're too big a hurry to do anything here. And this town board is just Kohlberger, the lawyers, they'll trample on somebody in a heartbeat if they can get something done. That's just exactly what's going on. I'd say hold off on it or stop it or something. This is no good. Common sense. You just don't get it. That's all. Think about it. I'm kind of a dummy, but not anybody in this town's ever got a hold of me. He beat me on anything yet except the mailman up there, the doctor. I can assure you that. And I could buy and sell anybody up there. Don't think I can either. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Paula Elefante. I have some questions and some concerns. One of my concerns is that you asked for 2 members of one of your boards to make a presentation, and then you took an action on their presentation, which is not necessarily a part of the item. It wasn't on the agenda that they were going to do a presentation and you were going to take action on their presentation. That meeting was held last night. So there wasn't enough time, there wasn't any time to put it on this agenda because this agenda had to be prepared and published a couple days ago. So I have a concern about that. My second concern is that 3 members of this town board were at that meeting last night. Thank you.
Donna Cox. I'd like to address a couple of issues. Since it did die last time around, or it didn't die, you voted against it actually, and I believe what Paula says is correct. I don't think you guys could bring this back in the way you've brought it back. I think it needs to be held and rescheduled here. It says the town board and Platt brought it, according to this, the name of the presenters. And there's only the people that voted for the motion or that can bring it back. You can't bring it back as a board. You know, it has to have somebody's name on here, like Mr. Waters, for instance, or Mike Darby or Carolyn Enserby. It can't be brought back as a board. That was one of my concerns. So, therefore, maybe you had better hold it and better redo your agenda. And one of you actually put your name on it as the person that's sponsoring it, not be led into something you shouldn't be doing that may get you into an ethics problem by Mr. Kohlberger. And another thing is I want to talk about Mrs. Giampoli. Why did anybody bother to hire Mrs. Giampoli and give her over $30,000 if they're not going to respect her opinion? She is an expert in this. You're not, we're not, and she gave her opinion, and now because you don't like it, you're just going to go against it. After all this money was spent, if that's the way everybody feels about Mrs. Giampoli, then don't hire her to do another job, because apparently it's a waste of our money. You need to give the land back to the Indians. There's plenty of land out here to be had. You don't need this particular piece of land because Miss Vicky over here wants to go and hike on it, which I don't believe is true. If she wants to hike, there's plenty of mountains to hike in. There's beautiful mountains out there that have waterfalls and everything else. Go hike those. We need this money spent elsewhere. I know it comes from impact fees, but that doesn't mean we need to spend it on this park. Enough has been spent on this park. We need to create a park over on the south side that is like Simpkins Park on the north side. We have children that are more important than we are. They have needs. They need a park. They need a swimming pool. We need this money spent, maybe the $10,000, to try to take care of what we already have, which is a piece of property on Kellogg and a piece of property on Highway 160. I'm asking that you just forget about this. Stop it. Don't do this anymore. Redirect this money where nobody's going to be protesting and hollering. Let's do something good for everybody in the community, not for a few people that want to take a hike in the mountains. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
May I respond to some of the comments?
No, I'm sorry, sir, you already spoke once. Yes, sir.
My name's Jerome Jim. I'm a Native American here. This mountain has been known sacred to our people, the Native Americans, and we believe it's sacred and it means a lot to us. You can't see what it means to us because you don't believe in it. But I just want you to see that you guys doing this to the mountain is like me coming in here burning a Bible in front of you. It's just disgraceful. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
John DuPont. We've already spent a considerable amount of money on the fairgrounds project. Why can't we take this money and spend it on something that'll bring the equestrian events and other events into town? and finish that instead of just bringing something new in that we haven't, and disregarding something we've already started. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, we have a motion to accept the Bell Vista property, Bell Vista benefits not to exceed $10,000, and to move forward with a challenge and approve Mr. Hackley and Mr. Adams to that board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Motion carries 3-2.
Mr. Chairman, if I may make a few comments on this. I'd like to give a little history of this. The people living in that area are tired of off-road vehicles and people coming out there doing all kinds of stuff and tearing everything up. And this was an effort to protect the area.
Point of order.
The-
This item is done.
The,
Mr.
Bones-
Calkins, may I ask you to reserve your comments to town board comments? Item number 10, discussion and possible decision to amend the lease with option to purchase agreement with Groponics Nevada to extend agreement deadlines by 6 months and approve assignment of the agreement from Groponics to Water Lily Ranch and all matters properly related thereto.
Mr. Chairman? Oh, go ahead.
Who wants to jump up there?
Well, I was just gonna say that, I've worked very hard trying to figure out what's the right thing to do with this issue, and it seems to boil down for me that too many entities just can't seem to work together. And I think it's in the best interest of this community to not grant the extension and let it play out. And I would encourage Mr. Kashani to, if he's still interested, to contact the town, and maybe we can make this work some other way. But I think it's time to just move on from this. Like I said, there's just too many entities. I don't want to say too much. There's just too many entities that can't seem to work together to make this happen.
So are you making a motion not
Yes,
to?
I'm making a motion not to approve the lease option. I mean, I'm making a motion not to extend the agreement by 6 more months. Not to extend the agreement.
Mr. Darby, if I may?
Mr. Kohlberger.
Can I ask Mr. Calkin a question, sir? You're making a motion to deny the extension of the agreement deadline by 6 months and to approve assignment to the agreement from Groponics Water Lily Ranch, correct? You're denying all that, correct?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with the assignment. I'm just, no, I don't have a problem with the assignment. So if I need to make a motion, then I don't have a problem with changing the assignment. I just don't want to grant an extension.
Okay.
You don't care for change.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Culkin, it would be better if there was an affirmative motion, only being that you would like to approve the assignment and nothing else. That would be an affirmative motion that I think would be properly before the board rather than saying no to one thing. I mean, you can do it in more than one motion if that's the pleasure of the board.
Okay, well, I'll start off by making a motion not to grant the 6-month extension.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion from the board?
As I said, I've worked very hard to try to do the right thing, and it just doesn't seem that we can make this work. And I just don't think that 6 months is going to help this situation. And it boils down to there's just too many parties that just can't seem to work together for this. I think it's time to just back up and start over with this and let this part play itself out.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that I listened to the town board before I became a town board member, and I know they voted for this. It has been moving on. There have been questions. There have been comments. But again, I think legally, we should allow it to take place legally. And the only way to do that is to go ahead and grant the 6-month extension. If we grant the 6-month extension and nothing happens, the property reverts back to the town and we've lost nothing. By not granting him the extension, and we caused the delay in the first place, again, we're talking about fairness in business. We want jobs here, and yet we're going to go ahead and deny him that option. And I just don't think it's fair.
When he was talking, I was getting a lot of feedback. Yeah, it's gone now. Thank you. Any further comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully disagree. I don't believe we have done anything to cause a delay. I think we need to just honor the agreement as it is and have it move forward as the lessee wishes to take it.
I would like to add my own comment in here. This has been a project that I have not agreed with since the inception. So I am inclined to agree not to extend. So we have a motion on the table. It's been made and seconded. Is there any public comment?
George Gingell. I live on that side of town, and I like to see the jobs coming here for the people that need them, but I believe they're trying to put it in the wrong place, and I don't see why the town is trying to give up water rights that they paid more for than they want to sell them for. And as far as the property goes, it's been designated as a park for the 11 years that I've been here. And as far as the contract with Growphonics, I think they had their chance to go ahead with it, and either they did it or somebody else did it, but the time has run out. Let it come back to let the property and everything else come back to the town, and spend that $10,000 that you were gonna spend for mitigating the Last Chance Park. Put it down there in that park and let the kids down there have some place to go, which they do not have now. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Welsh, I'm a Pahrumpian. We got 3 members of this board up here that got elected last November because you're going to get rid of all the other stuff that kept going on. Some citizen wanted to give this town something at no cost. They gave this land. Now somebody, what's starting to smack and what people are talking about out there is Growphonics and somebody got promised a deal. Nobody, I was in real estate for 20 years, nobody goes into a deal without knowing there was an exclusion on this land. But somebody, now what's starting everyone's talking about, somebody in the government, somebody that was in a position promised these people they could get a sweetheart deal of all deals. And they keep pushing it. Obviously, Growphonics has got enough sense that they've wasted as much money on this as they're pulling out, but somebody else has still wants this good sweetheart deal. The gentleman right now solved the problem of a couple of issues that you've been spending months on this. And the new guys, it's like, what? I like what you said, Harley. It's time for this to die. You're playing games. As far as we know, they still can't get title to the land. You guys got more important stuff to do. You can't give it away. Use it for a park, what it was intended for, or something that the people in the community can use. The number of jobs that Growphonics was gonna provide is not that many. And darn, water rights, you could turn it into a pretty nice little water park out there. Just common sense, guys. It's been going on long enough. Drop it. Growphonics was the original. Now somebody else wants a sweetheart deal. It don't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Bob Irving. You know, I've been around the fairgrounds concept for probably the last 5 years. I started out when we were in the PAVE organization, and Mr. Balcree went out and got himself this information and everything put together for the 400 acres that I was on 160. But you know, and you've heard it tonight many times that money is tight, and it's going to be hard to get anything going. And I know I've talked to Mr. Calkin on it, and his idea is 160. My suggestion to do is to go and take that 400 acres that's sitting out there on 160 that's already been tortured. Well, anyways, bit of tortoises anyway. Make that into your last chance park, and let the fairgrounds go and be built down on the Kellogg property. There's 400 acres out there. It needs there's a lot of pre-made stuff out there for it, where it's got ruts and dips and whatever else you want to have for off-road vehicles or off-road motorcycles or walking or however you want to do it. But in all sense of the word, you're probably going to say, well, we need a barrier around that. Well, I think part of the park project was that it had to have trees around the barriers, just like they have on everything else in this town where you've got to have trees. So I think that you might want to turn around and look at that last chance park and maybe figuring out something and going into that 400 acres. It's right near 160, easy access for people who want to bring their whatever they want to bring there, whether it's walking or horses or motorcycles or off-road vehicles, whatever else, or ATVs, I should say. I think this might be an idea to think about, because it's there, it's ready to go. All it needs is to be bulldozed in the way that people would like to have it bulldozed out there. And it cost a small fortune to do it, just like it would be if it was going to be the fairgrounds. It'd take a small fortune to level that place off. But you don't need it when you got people that are jumping over hills and dales and everything else out there. So it's an idea. I'm glad you guys finally considered dropping Growphonics, because I think that that was I didn't see by 2012 or 2021 150 jobs. By 2021, that place could have been gone too. So the 150 jobs, and we've given them all the water that we wanted. And you know how people have been talking about water. It's not that much. It's too cheap to give it to them. We can't give them all the water that we have here because we don't have that much ourselves. And thank you.
Hi, my name is Ski Sinski. You know, when this thing started, there's a couple of mistakes. What? Oh, sorry, I'm used to talking loud. No? Okay. There were some mistakes made, and I think a lot of homework wasn't done and this and that. And I think it's time to drop it. You know, I looked in this contract, the lease agreement, and I write quite a few lease agreements. If you go down to item number 4E, you know, everything has to be so specific. Yet you've got an open-end statement in here where after the completion of phase 2B, then 4 acres are going to be turned over at no cost to Growphonics. And they're going to be used for a community facility, and that it's the responsibility of Growphonics to put that community facility there. Couple just off-the-wall questions. How big's the building going to be? What's going to be in the building? Who's going to staff the building? Who's responsible to maintain the building, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Are you going to turn right around if this thing does go through, In 2 years from now, we'll be sitting in here again saying, how come we don't have a community facility built there? Well, you didn't tell me how big the building's gotta be. You didn't tell me who's gonna staff it. You didn't tell me who's gonna pay the electric bill. So you've got several open-end statements in there. You know, sometimes when I was in the military, the first thing is not how important it is to advance, is to know when to retreat. And I think I agree that this might be the time to just pull back and let the thing just fall apart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Stevens, citizen taxpayer. I'm a little hard hearing. I'm hoping I'm hearing this right, that you're not gonna have that growphonics in there. Or are we still debating it or what? I can't.
We're debating.
Okay. You people that want growphonics, you still haven't got it. Let me explain here. We had a meeting here a while back, and the guy wanted it, and the other guy, his name is Sanders, I think, he come up and he said he's going to sue somebody over this thing. And if you can't understand that, I understand that guy pretty good. He will sue. And I'd rather deal with that Kashani any day than I would that Sanders. If it comes to a lawsuit, he's got money, and he's got a little power around here. You people got no power. You're just sitting up there. And I wouldn't, there's no way in the world would I let that man have that property. There wasn't one penny that was passed hands on that. Not one penny. I read that thing from start to finish. And you're wrong. Whoever wants that thing, you're 100% wrong. If you want the town to get sued, fine. That's what's going to happen. They're going to sue. And he's not joking. That guy, I size people up pretty good. In fact, I know a guy that talked to him about it. That's the truth. So you made a good decision when you said you're not going to let him have that Goshani. Everybody said what a nice guy he is. Don't be fooled by that. You should have seen some of the looks he gave me up there to that meeting. I don't know why. That guy's I said it at the other meeting, I'll say it here, you can kick me out of here. That guy's a tin-horn chiseler, right from the start. Don't think he isn't. He's got a history of suing people. And I seen the Growphonics place down there. You come off of that highway down there in Las Vegas. And that's a 3-story building. That's a big building. I don't think he belongs to it. I tried to get the old lady to stop over. I want to go over and talk to him, see what it looked like. She took off. I'm not going over there. Can't make her do anything. But anyway, I just wanted to stop up here and say you made a good decision here, right there. If you want the town to get sued, go ahead. He'll do her. Don't think he wouldn't. He's a good-hearted man to give the land in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Robin Lloyd, LLOYD. You know what? These guys are right. This is a very actionable offense. This contract never should have been signed. Sam Jones gave each of you a DVD of that special town board meeting that was held November 19th, 2010. And that was when afterwards the contract was signed. And I think, I know Tom Waters watched it. He commented on it. But if you watched it, you saw the public comment that was made, and everybody brought up very legitimate comments about why it shouldn't be signed. There was holes, all kinds of holes in the thing. And one person actually stood there and read the deed restriction where it says, whereas this property will be used by the unincorporated town of Pahrump for public purpose. And then it went on to say, the party of the second part, which is the town, will hold it forever. That's very clear, the way that's stated. Then later on in that session, Frank Maurizio asked the attorney if he was aware of any deed restrictions that were on that property. And after hearing what he had just heard 20 minutes prior, he actually looked at him and said, "There are no deed restrictions to my knowledge." Now, if you have a contract that's this important, you should know what the deed says and what how the restriction reads, and it's very obvious that there was a deed restriction on it, and the thing never should have been signed. Now, I realize you guys weren't the ones that entered into that contract, but you now have the opportunity to get out of it, because they signed it, the town actually can be sued by several different people because of the way that restriction is worded, because of the way the lease option is worded. Now that it's no longer Groponics, and that's the other thing, Kashani signed that thing as a representative of Groponics LLC and told everyone that he did have an LLC and that he was a managing member, and none of that was true. He never did have an LLC, Groponics LLC. He never was a managing member. Although he signed the contract as a managing member, that, in my opinion, would make that entire contract null and void because he did not have the authority to sign the contract in that manner, not being a managing member of Groponics. Now he wants you to reword the whole thing and put in a Water Lily Ranch in its place to make it a legal contract. And if you do that, you're going to put yourselves right back in the same position that you were in originally from the past town board. So this is your opportunity to get out of this. You're being given a second chance here. So think it over carefully, because you're putting a lot of people into the entire town in harm's way here. You're liable for lawsuits from several different people here. So this is an easy way out. He's given you a second chance. All you have to do is take it.
Thank you. I have another comment.
Judith Holmgren. I'm a resident since 1993, and I looked at this lease, and I would like to make a general comment. One is that the town should not be in competition with residents who are attempting to sell or lease their properties. And in addition to that, I'm concerned about the way this entire episode is moving to put an unknown in place of a company that has an excellent reputation. So I'm concerned that the town can become involved where the town can be liable. And the town can be liable because the new company is something that research does not turn up any other hydroponic facilities that these people are in the process of operating. And very little is known about the procedures these people use. Now, if you are looking at a very large and reputable company like Groponics, which has many franchisees, this company will be putting in place protocols, practices that conform with laws that govern foods, produce, and these types of things. Okay, hydroponics is a sophisticated, exacting, high-tech industry. So a franchise such as, I'll say, Groponics, like other companies that produce food or prepare food, provide to their franchisees the protocols, the practices, the legal help, their corporate standards and industry standards, which the franchisee just has to copy. In other words, he is making a copy of an entity which has been laid out and successfully used elsewhere. Now, this new group, this Water Lily Ranch, about which you have no history, we know nothing about how they are going to engage in quality control of their product. And the town, having engaged in a contract with them, becomes liable if something goes wrong with their food production and someone is injured or poisoned or what have you. So I look upon this as I can't say, a very foolish move on the part of the town to take on an unknown and replace a reputable company like Groponics with an unknown company that does not seem to have other facilities. So I feel that this should be dropped. And I also feel that this 6-month extension provided an opportunity for eliminating the name of a reputable company and replacing it with an unknown, untried, singlet organization. And in New York, that would be called bait and switch bunco.
Thank you.
Donna Cox. On the beginning of this lease here where it says lease with option to purchase, it says this lease is made on November 19th, 2010 by and between the town of Pahrump, lessor, and Groponics Nevada LLC, which now we want to take out Groponics and put Water Lily Ranch in there instead. I would wonder if you could ask the attorney if he actually approved that change. Does he feel that's a legal thing? Is that allowable?
Yeah, actually, in the contract, if you read on down further, the entire contract is assignable.
Okay. But this was signed and done by a different board, not this board. So I have to question that. You might want to question legal counsel on that, since it is a different board that's going to be signing it. And then I had heard Jack Saunders speak, and I wanted to point out that when he built his building, which he put a lot of money into out there, he relied on this property being a park, and so therefore he's concerned about this damaging his property that he has, and I can see why he would do that. I mean, you too, would, if you relied on something, all of a sudden would be very upset if a change like this were to take place. He's relying on the people and the tourists and things to come, and this is not going to bring those kind of people that are going to benefit his business. And this contract basically is expired, is null and void, and I don't think you can do this due to the fact that the town, according to the district attorney, cannot enter into agreements for renting or leasing any properties. And if he's wrong, then correct him. But according to him, since you're not a city and you're not incorporated, that as a town you can't do this, which leads me to question the fact that you already have some leases on that property with some companies for towers, different kinds of towers, and perhaps that would also make those contracts null and void. So if you're not allowed to go into the leasing and the renting business because you're not formed into a city or an incorporated town, then this should be done, and I mean, it's just null and void. How can you argue with that? It's supposedly a dead issue. And I won't even address the deed